I'm sitting in this office, tied up like a criminal, fully expecting to get my teeth kicked in. But the guy in charge just pulls out a pill and goes, "Here, eat this, you'll feel better." I'm sorry, what? "Look, I got nothing against you personally," he says. "Tying you up is just procedure." Okay, that's surprisingly reasonable. I mean, I did just beat the living daylights out of the Holy Maiden, so I figured the welcome wagon would involve a lot more punching and a lot less medicine. But hey, if he wanted me dead, he wouldn't need to poison me. I'm already half dead from that fight. So I swallowed the pill. And it worked. Pain went down like 3 notches. This guy's all right. Then a couple of guards showed up. "Whose clan?" I stood up like a gentleman. "The officer helped me, so I'm not going to cause problems for him." The guards reached for my arms, and I hit them with the classic, "I can walk myself. Thanks." And for some reason, they just let me. I look like I got run over by a carriage twice, but apparently I've still got enough big energy that grown men listen when I talk. Good to know. Meanwhile, on the other side of campus, the Holy Maiden woke up from her nap with the Pope himself taking care of her. And the first thing out of her mouth? "Where's clan? I want revenge. Girl, you just lost. Read the room." The Pope basically told her, "Yeah, maybe stop picking fights with people." And she got all pouty and sad about it. Then she switched to full training arc mode. "Get me the best teachers. I'm gonna train and destroy him." And the Pope? He's sitting there smiling. Because apparently me beating up his precious Holy Maiden was exactly the motivation she needed. This man is playing 4D chess with his own students' emotions, and I'm the unwitting pawn that worked perfectly. Then the Pope came to see me. Now, normal people see the Pope and immediately drop to their knees. Me? I just stood there staring at him like he's a museum exhibit. And honestly, the man is stupidly handsome. Golden hair, perfect face, this gentle smile that makes you want to trust him with your life savings. But also he's like 2 meters 20 tall. This isn't a Pope. This is a final boss in priest clothing. But here's where things got wild. He waved his hand, and the ropes just vanished. Poof. Gone. Magic Pope powers, I guess. I've heard what happened. It was Xingxin's fault. I apologize on her behalf. I'm sorry. The Pope is apologizing to me? The guy I expected to smite me into next week is saying sorry? This is not how this was supposed to go. I had a whole speech prepared about mercy and being young and foolish. I was ready to BEG. And this golden giant is standing here being reasonable? What is wrong with this school? Ever since I left my garbage family, everyone has been weirdly nice to me. Is King's Academy secretly a daycare run by angels? Your Holiness, I also went too far with the Holy Maiden, so I share the blame. No, you did the right thing. In fact, I want to reward you. You motivated Xingxin to actually try hard for once. I beat up the Holy Maiden, and I'm getting a reward. This is the greatest day of my life. But then came the catch. There's always a catch. Before that, clan, tell me something. What is your real talent? There it is. What do you mean? My talent is stat points allocation. Everyone knows that. Don't play dumb. If your talent was just stat points, there's no way you could have fought evenly against Angel's Soul, a top-tier talent. What else are you hiding? I went quiet for a second. He wasn't wrong. I'd been reading books about talents lately, and apparently other people with the stat points talent can't actually see their stats. They're just blindly distributing points. But I can see everything. Exact numbers, compatibility ratings, the whole dashboard. So I decided to come partially clean. I can see my talent. Like, literally see it. What does that even mean? It means I can see what I'm best at. Everything has a number attached to it. My best element is lightning. My best weapon is the sword. My best side profession is forging. I basically just pulled up my character sheet and started reading it out loud to the Pope. This is either the smartest or the dumbest thing I've ever done. The Pope listened to me describe my talent, and I could literally see the moment his brain went, "Oh, this is valuable." And yeah, he's right. My talent doesn't make me hit harder or shoot fireballs, but it means I never take a wrong path. I always know exactly what to train, what element to pick, what weapon fits me best. No wasted time. No guessing. According to history books, plenty of strong fighters had mediocre talents but mastered their skills so perfectly they could rival S-rank talent holders. So basically, with my cheat sheet vision, I could absolutely compete with the top dogs. The Pope was clearly excited, but I could see him calculating behind that pretty face. He can't just shower me with resources right after I beat up his Holy Maiden. That would look terrible. Xingxin would hate him, and everyone else would talk. So he went with the sneaky route instead. Good talent, kid. I'll invest some extra resources in you, but not too much. You'll have to earn the rest yourself. I nodded like a good boy. Honestly, I came in here expecting to die, and now I'm getting sponsored. 0 complaints from me. Then he handed me a token. This token contains 1,000 years worth of class hours. I'm sorry. 1,000 years of class time? That means I can just waltz up to any top-tier teacher and go, teach me. And they have to do it? Does this man understand what he just handed me? This is like getting an unlimited platinum membership to the world's best gym. Except instead of treadmills, it's combat training from legends. But I could tell the Pope was being careful on purpose. He doesn't want to spoil me rotten like he did with Xingxin. He wants to see what happens when you raise one kid with unlimited pampering versus another kid who has to fight for everything. I'm basically his experiment. Cool. I can work with that. Then he pulled out a medicine bottle. Take this. It'll heal your injuries completely. And by the way, Xingxin will come for you again once she recovers. Make sure you stay ahead of her. He said that last part with this look. This knowing, meaningful smile. And that's when it clicked. This golden giant wants me to be Xingxin's permanent rival. He wants me to keep beating her so she stays motivated to get stronger. I'm not just a student to him. I'm a training tool for his favorite disciple. The Pope is playing both sides and somehow making everyone benefit. This man is terrifying. I took the medicine bottle, nodded politely, and got out of there. Walking back to my room, Milia saw me and froze. I looked like someone had used me as a punching bag, which, yeah, basically accurate. Master, what happened to you? Training. Got a little rough. Normal stuff. No way I'm telling her the truth. I'm about 70% sure she's not a spy at this point, but that's not 100%. And even if she isn't, what good would it do? She'd just worry. Go fill the bath for me. She hesitated. Master, can you even take a bath right now? You look like, I know what I look like. I'll be fine. My body, my rules. She went off to heat the water, and that's when I pulled out the Pope's medicine bottle. 10 little white pills inside. I popped one. The effect was instant. This cool sensation spread through my entire body and my wounds started closing up in real time. Scabs formed, then just fell off when I touched them, leaving nothing but faint white lines. Church medicine is no joke. 1 pill and I went from war casualty to minor scratches. I've got 9 more of these bad boys. I could use them later, or I could sell them and probably make a fortune. By the time Milia came back, the wounds were gone, but I was still covered in dried blood, so she didn't notice anything weird. I slipped into the bath and sank into the warm water like a king returning to his throne. Milia waited outside the door, clearly still worried. What is it? I called out, sounding as lazy and unbothered as possible. Master, do you want me to scrub your back? You know what? Yeah. I got beat half to death today, came home, healed myself with magic church pills, and now I'm soaking in a warm bath. I deserve this. Let the maid do her job. Milia tiptoed in, all careful and nervous, but then she saw my body and just froze. All the blood was gone thanks to the bath water, and underneath was just me, clean, lean, and apparently very easy on the eyes based on how red her face just turned. She was trying so hard not to look, and failing so hard at not looking. So handsome, she whispered. Girl, I can hear you. She also noticed that all my wounds were gone, which probably confused her since she literally saw me covered in blood 5 minutes ago. But she didn't ask questions. Smart girl. I turned my back to her, and she finally remembered why she came in. She grabbed the towel and started scrubbing, all shaky and nervous. And apparently she's also noticed that I've been getting better looking lately. Which tracks. My stats keep going up, so I guess my appearance is leveling up too. Then the scrubbing stopped. I was about to ask what happened when I caught her in my peripheral vision, and this girl was leaning in and sniffing me, like a creep. Apparently I smell good now too. What is happening to my body? I wanted to call her out so bad, but if I did, she'd probably die of embarrassment on the spot. So instead I just casually said, Why'd you stop? She jumped. I could practically hear her heart explode. She checked if my eyes were still closed. They were, because I'm a merciful master, and let out this tiny sigh of relief. And nothing, master. I was just washing the towel. Sure you were. Sure you were. After that she didn't try anything else and finished the job properly. I got out, had dinner, and went to bed. Meanwhile, Milia apparently went back to her room, crawled under her blankets, and had a full mental breakdown about what she did. What was I thinking? Am I crazy? But he smelled so good. Should I go watch him sleep? Then she immediately shut that idea down. Good, good. We are not going down that road. Instead, she made a much more reasonable decision. I'll just take care of him so well that he can't live without me. Honestly, that's a solid strategy. I respect the hustle. Right before I fell asleep, the system pinged me. Congratulations. You've received 1 luck attribute point. Luck? I love luck. That's the invisible hand that just quietly makes everything go my way. More of that, please. Next morning, I could feel it immediately. My body was different. I pulled up my stats. Strength, 48. Agility, 42. Constitution, 44. Spirit, 37. Everything went up by 2 or 3 points. And my level jumped to 13. All from that one fight with Xingxin. Life or death battles really are the fastest way to level up. If I spent a whole year fighting for survival in the wilderness, I'd come back looking like a completely different person. Then I suddenly remembered Milia's little sniffing incident and felt my face get hot. But honestly, I get it. We're both at that age where you start noticing the opposite gender. It's normal. Totally normal. I forced myself back to sleep. When I got up for real, breakfast was amazing. Better than usual, with actual plating. Milia arranged the food like it was a restaurant dish. And she was standing right there, staring at me with these big, hopeful eyes, basically begging for a compliment. Her gaze was so intense I literally could not ignore it. Breakfast is good today. You're improving. The way her face lit up, you'd think I just gave her a medal. She looked like she couldn't believe I noticed. All that effort, totally worth it in her mind now. After eating, I headed to class with Quinn as usual. I'm not switching teachers yet. We've built up a real connection and I don't want to throw that away. But tonight, I'm going to use that token from the Pope to find a proper forging instructor. Nothing too fancy, maybe a mid-level forge master. I've barely started learning, so getting someone too elite would just mean me asking baby questions to a genius. That feels like a waste. During our sparring session, Quinn was making this face like, this kid got stronger again. Poor guy's probably wondering how much longer he can even keep up as my teacher. On my way home after training, I ran into Saga again. She was clearly waiting for me on purpose. And I gotta say, she looked good, way better than before. Her skin was glowing. She'd filled out a little, and she was standing there looking like a painting come to life. Apparently, my face has been getting an upgrade along with my stats, because Saga looked at me and immediately turned into a nervous wreck. Girl came here specifically to find me, but she's acting like she bumped into a celebrity at the grocery store. What's up, Saga? You need something? Clan? Me and Winnie's group are taking a D-rank mission. Want to come with us? What kind of mission? Goblin extermination. We need to wipe out a goblin nest, about 100 of them. 5-person team. It's not that hard. Interested? Obviously I'm interested. First mission ever, and doing it with a team is way safer than going solo. But I did wonder, where are these goblins even coming from? King's Academy covers the whole island, doesn't it? Are these wild goblins? Did someone make them? Actually, the island probably has some untouched wilderness areas. That tracks. Sure, I'm in. When do we leave? Tomorrow. Works for me. Saga looked relieved. And also a little too happy. Subtle, girl. Real subtle. I went to tell Quinn about it. What? You're taking a mission? Yes, mister. Quinn. He thought about it for a second. Actually, yeah, you're ready. Your strength is already about half of mine. Half of a teacher's strength, and I'm still a first year. Quinn was looking at me like he was trying to figure out if I had a secret second talent. Which, I do, but he doesn't need to know that. Then, right as I was about to leave, Quinn stared at my face and dropped this bomb. You know, you should consider finding a wealthy marriage partner. I'm sorry, what? I'm serious. Your growth speed is insane. You're going to burn through resources eventually. But if you find a rich spouse, your future gets a lot easier. This man is telling me to find a sugar mommy. Where is this coming from? Quinn suddenly got this faraway look in his eyes. Like he was remembering something painful. Oh no, this man has backstory. He's got regrets. Forget it, forget it. That was dumb of me. I'm just projecting because my own life didn't go so great. You're different. Pretend I didn't say anything. Looking at his face, I could tell. Quinn has been through some stuff. But instead of digging into his trauma, I just said what I actually felt. Mr. Quinn, I won't forget everything you've done for me. I mean that. and I did mean it. Sure, he started teaching me as a favor to Mr. Wisha. But the medicine baths? The expensive herbs floating in those tubs? He didn't have to do that. I've been studying potion courses, and I can recognize some of those ingredients now. They are not cheap. For a guy at Quinn's level, that's a serious chunk of his savings. I'll remember this debt. Kid, stop being sentimental and go train. You've got stuff to do. I nodded and left. But I didn't go to class. Instead, I headed to the shopping district. I've been sitting on my points this whole time and haven't spent a single one. Tomorrow's mission means I need gear. The church's commercial street had two types of shops: official stores and student-run shops. Official stores guarantee authentic products with refund policies. Student shops are basically gambling. If you've got a sharp eye, you can find amazing deals. If you don't, you eat the loss and cry alone. I know exactly how sharp my eye is. It's not. So I walked straight to the official store without a second thought. The moment the shop girl saw the Viscount badge on my chest, she was on me like a retail missile. Welcome, esteemed Viscount student. What can I help you find? I'm a freshman, taking my first mission tomorrow, so I need supplies. What do you recommend? When she heard freshman and Viscount, her eyes practically sparkled. She's also a King's Academy student, so she knows exactly how rare it is for a freshman to already have a Viscount rank. That means I got first place in my exam district. Translation: this kid has potential, don't make him mad. A hunting mission? What kind of monster? Goblins. Goblins. Perfect first target. With your strength, they shouldn't be much trouble. Let me recommend some potions. She pulled out a little bottle. This is an energy potion. If you're exhausted from traveling, one sip and you're fully refreshed. Only 1 point each. She opened a sample bottle and held it under my nose. Just one sniff and the tiredness from this morning's training melted away like it was never there. Okay, I'm buying these. This stuff works better than coffee. Way better than coffee. One sniff and I'm already sold. Good stuff. What else you got? Give me 5 of those energy potions. Certainly. Next we have basic healing potions. Pour it on a wound and it closes up fast. 3 points each. 2 of those. An insect repellent powder. Sprinkle it around your campsite at night, and it keeps away snakes, bugs, and mosquitoes. 1 point per pack, 3 uses each, 2 packs. This girl was a professional saleswoman. By the time she was done with me, I'd spent over 100 points. But honestly, everything she recommended was genuinely useful. No regrets. That'll be 105 points. Thank you so much. My name is Stasi. Please ask for me next time. Yeah, I'll definitely be back. Good service, good products. We're cool. After the shopping spree, I headed straight to the forging classroom. I'd booked a session with an actual forge master tonight. The guy, Tasola, walked in, looked at me without any particular reaction, and just said, "Ask whatever you want. If I can answer it, I will. No small talk. No pleasantries. I like this man. Mr. Tasola, every time I try to forge lightning attribute, or I can't control the energy, and it explodes." Why? He nodded, which I took as a good sign. At least my question wasn't embarrassingly basic. Are you heating it with the standard method? No. I add earth powder to suppress the lightning energy. Then it's either not enough powder or the quality is too low. The earth powder needs to be about half the weight of the lightning, or too little and the energy runs wild. Too much and you drain some of the ore's power, which makes the final product weaker. That made perfect sense. Is there any way to salvage a failed forge? Technically yes, but don't bother. The materials you'd waste on salvaging cost more than just starting over, and the result would still be garbage. Treat every single forge attempt like it's the most important one you'll ever do. No second chances. I nodded hard. This man speaks truth. We spent 3 more hours together, and I learned an absolute TON. My plan now is to digest everything on my own, practice, and come back to him when I hit new problems. Tasola never actually saw me forge anything, since lessons this expensive are usually just Q&A. You ask your questions, then go practice on your own time. But with tomorrow's mission, I skipped practice and went straight to bed. Congratulations. Constitution 1. Same as yesterday, another Constitution point. That brings me to 46. My body is turning into a tank. Next morning, I headed to the church gates, filled out the departure paperwork, and finally stepped outside. And I don't know why, but the air just felt fresher out here. Like I'd been breathing recycled church air for weeks and didn't even notice. Outside the church compound was a massive city. I still didn't even know what it was called. Everyone walking around looked young. All students, by the looks of it. Then it hit me. These people must be the commoners. Most students who enter the academy start at either commoner or slave rank. When they noticed the Viscount badge on my chest, every single one of them immediately looked away and lowered their heads. To them, a Viscount can decide whether they live or die. That's kind of messed up, actually. Weirdly, though, I didn't see any slaves on the streets. Which is strange, because there should be more slaves than commoners. Where are they all? Something feels off about that. Before I could think too hard about it, I spotted Saga and the team. The squad was me, Saga, Winnie, Gato, and Devin the Stone Giant. All familiar faces from the entrance exam. The second Gato and Devin saw me, their eyes sharpened up. Yeah, they remember. I might have gotten lucky during the exam, but I still came out on top of our entire class. They're not about to let their guard down around me. Long time no see, I walked up with a smile. Yeah, long time. They were sizing me up. I could tell they noticed something was different. My vibe was calmer, more composed, and they could feel that I'd gotten stronger. But we were teammates now, so nobody was about to start a sparring match in the middle of the street. We heading out now? No objections here. Everyone agreed, and Saga took the lead toward the city gates. While we walked, she started giving me the tour. Clan, do you know what this city is called? No idea. This is Holy Light City. It's the capital of the church's 12 cities. And this island we're on? It's so big it's basically not even an island anymore. It's a whole continent. A continent? I thought this was just a big school island. Seeing my reaction, Saga kept going. King's Academy was built by all the empires and kingdoms together. Every nation has its own territory here. But even with all those countries, they still haven't claimed the whole landmass. There's deserts, forests, and wild zones everywhere. And because the magic density on this continent is so high, monsters breed fast. If you don't clear them out regularly, they multiply into massive hordes, so that's where the goblins come from. This place isn't just a school. It's a whole ecosystem that actively tries to eat you. Fun. So are we heading into some giant forest? Saga shook her head. No, we're just going to a village near Holy Light City. Goblins have been showing up in big numbers lately, destroying rice fields and kidnapping girls. We need to take them out. Yeah, that sounds about right. That's exactly what goblins do. Then Winnie came running up beside me. Even though she's been eating better since coming to the academy, this girl is still skinny as a stick. Pale white skin, legs thinner than my ARMS, looking like a little white radish that learned how to walk. I frowned, reached into my backpack, and pulled out a piece of bread. Eat this. She looked confused. Apparently she'd been trying to find me this whole time and couldn't figure out where I lived. So she'd been going back to the old arena every single day, just waiting to see if I'd show up. That's actually kind of sad and adorable. She took the bread with both hands and started nibbling on it in tiny little bites. Something about the way she did it was so ridiculously cute that I couldn't help myself. I reached over and ruffled her hair, like she was my daughter or something. She smiled this big, innocent smile and nuzzled her head into my hand like a puppy. This child is going to be the death of me. Have you not been eating properly? Why are you still this thin? She swallowed her bread real quick. No, I eat every day. It's just, my talent won't let me. Because of my ability, I can only get proper nutrition from drinking blood. But I really hate doing that. Oh, that's actually awful. Her talent literally forces her to drink blood to survive, and she hates it. The more I think about it, the more I realize powerful talents aren't just gifts. They're curses too. Starting from B-rank talents, the side effects start showing up. The stronger the power, the bigger the price. I looked over at Saga. What about you? Does your talent have a downside? Kind of a rude question to just throw out there, but I knew she'd answer. Yeah, she nodded. My teacher told me that wing people have a mental flaw. We're really pure-hearted, and we get extremely fixated on things. Then she stared directly at me with those burning eyes. Okay, I don't need her to spell out what she's fixated on. Message received. Loud and clear. A mental side effect, huh? I don't know if that's good or bad. If she channeled that obsession into training, it could be amazing. But she's clearly not channeling it into training. I glanced over at Devin and Gato, wondering what their side effects were. They're both B-rank though, so it probably isn't anything too crazy. Devin, meanwhile, was not having a good time. He was fuming because both girls in the squad were hovering around me. Is it because I'm handsome? Yes. Yes, it is. But he couldn't accept that. See, back in the old days, Devin was too busy starving to think about anything besides food. But now that he's eating 3 meals a day at the academy, his brain has moved on to other interests. He's been eyeing the girls at the church, thinking his status should make them come to him. And his real targets? Saga and Winnie, girls with talent way above his own. His logic was simple. One's too pure, one's too naive. Should be easy pickings. Except both his easy targets are currently orbiting around another guy. No wonder he looks like he swallowed a lemon. So he marched right over with zero grace. Hey, what are you guys talking about? I'm curious too. My talent doesn't have any flaws, by the way. Pretty different from you guys. The awkward silence that followed could have killed a man. What is this dude doing? No flaws. Buddy, your talent turns you into a stone giant. You know what stone giants are? Slow. Once levels go up and fights get serious, you're a punching bag with legs. I wanted to roast him so bad, but held it in. Team fights and internal drama don't mix. Gato, on the other hand, couldn't care less about any of this. He was staring lovingly at his spear like it was his girlfriend. His talent is Weapon Master. He can pick up any weapon and master it fast. He'd switched from swords to spears recently, and apparently he'd gotten so good he could hear the air crack when he thrust. But since nobody had seen his spear skills yet, we all just let him do his thing. Devin noticed nobody was paying attention to him and got even more annoyed. Hey clan, how did you manage to get first place with just a C-rank talent anyway? I've gotten a lot stronger since then. Want to spar? I looked at him. Cold. Even someone with the reaction speed of a brick could tell this guy was picking a fight on purpose. Over on the side, Winnie and Saga were getting ready to play peacemaker. But Gato? Gato's ears perked up. He wanted to see how strong I'd gotten too. I kept my face completely blank. Sure. I'm also curious how much you've grown. Devin looked surprised. He actually didn't expect me to say yes. He probably thought I'd back down, because surely my trash C-rank talent couldn't keep up with him after a whole month of training. Oh buddy, you have no idea. Devin was practically vibrating with excitement. In his little fantasy, he was about to beat me up in front of Saga and Winnie, and both girls would fall madly in love with him. That's adorable. Really, truly adorable. I looked at his goofy, grinning face, and my expression went cold. Some people need to get educated the hard way before they understand where they stand in the food chain. And let me be clear, if this guy doesn't shape up after this, then one of us is leaving this team. And it's not going to be me. Everyone spread out to keep watch while we squared off. Devin transformed immediately. No warning, no countdown. Just boom, giant stone man. He was bigger than before, his rock armor was thicker, and he charged at me like a runaway boulder. But his speed? Barely improved. If anything, the bigger body made him even clumsier. I didn't even bother activating lightning body. Didn't pull out the flash thunder sword either. Instead, I grabbed a big heavy iron bar. The second he got close, I swung that bar right into his shoulder. The stone armor shattered on impact, and the force went straight through. Devin dropped to one knee. Then I cracked him across the head. His whole skull twisted sideways. Stone chunks flew everywhere. And then I just kept going. Forehand, backhand, forehand, backhand. Like I was playing tennis except the ball was Devin's face. Bonk, 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 bonk. I could see Winnie and the others staring with their mouths hanging open. This was supposed to be a spar, not a one-sided beatdown. The script was all wrong for them. The only reason Devin's head was still attached was because his earth magic kept regenerating the stone armor. Without it, his skull would be in pieces right now. Thud. Devin's massive body crashed to the ground like a felled tree. He was out. The stone armor crumbled off him and underneath. His face was swollen beyond recognition. Blood everywhere. Couldn't even tell what he originally looked like. I looked down at him, and even I was a little surprised. Those rocks really didn't protect him as well as I thought they would. I think I went a little overboard. So, what now? Gato answered without a shred of emotion. Send him back. He can't do the mission like this. 4 of us should be enough. Cold. Ice cold. But fair. Devin started this fight, and Gato clearly picked up on the fact that Devin's motives weren't about testing my strength. They were about something a lot more pathetic. Winnie and Saga didn't object either. We dropped Devin off and got back on the road. After that little demonstration, The team leadership quietly shifted to me. Nobody discussed it. Nobody voted. It just happened. Gato was staring at me the whole time with this intense look. He couldn't believe how much stronger I'd gotten in just 1 month. And he knew I wasn't even going all out. I didn't use lightning body, didn't use my real sword, and still almost killed Devon, who's roughly the same level as him. The gap between us had gotten bigger, not smaller. I could see him silently making a vow to himself. Once he awakened his spear soul, he'd challenge me for real. But for now, he knew he couldn't win. We moved fast and reached the target village before dark. The place was a mess. Broken fences, trampled crops, every single door shut tight. It looked like a village that had given up on hope and was just waiting to die. I realized all the camping supplies I bought were probably unnecessary since we had actual houses to sleep in. Well, they'd come in handy some other time. Hello? Anyone here? We're here to deal with the goblins. A door creaked open nearby. A few villagers shuffled out. Thin, malnourished, yellow hair, terrible skin. They looked like they hadn't had a proper meal in months. This world is brutal. The commoners in King's Academy territory have to pay massive taxes every month. After paying up, they barely have enough food left. And on top of that, they get attacked by monsters constantly. It's misery piled on top of misery. Compared to this place, the church compound is literal paradise. My lords, you've come. Let me prepare a place for you to stay. The lead villager practically fell over himself welcoming us. He brought us to the biggest house in the village, the village chief's place. The chief was the only knight-class fighter in the whole village. Young guy, maybe mid-20s, dark skin, but in better shape than the rest of the villagers. He could hold his own in a fight, but against an entire goblin horde? Way outnumbered. Please stay here tonight, my lords. If things go as usual, those beasts will attack the village again tonight. I nodded. Time to go goblin hunting. Then a baby started crying inside the house. The village chief jumped up immediately. Sorry, my kid's crying again. I need to go take care of him. Eyeing, look after our guests. A little girl stepped forward. Yes, father. She was so well-behaved it almost hurt to watch. These kids born inside King's Academy territory. What happens to them when they grow up? Do they leave? Do they stay? The academy has only existed for about 40 years, so the oldest person born here would be 39 at most. I couldn't figure it out. Little Eyeing led us to our rooms. Nothing fancy, but clean and spacious. Someone had clearly put effort into tidying up. Coming from the backgrounds we all had, none of us were about to complain. I'd barely sat down when someone knocked on my door. I opened it and found Saga, Winnie, and Gato all standing there like a welcoming committee. Clan, let's all wait in your room. That way when the monsters show up, we can move together. Made sense. No objections. Winnie tilted her head. Clan, do you think goblins are strong? No idea. Never fought one. In video games from my past life, goblins were basically walking EXP bags. But the books here told a different story. Most goblins are weak, sure. But because they breed like crazy, some goblin groups develop mutant variants. Monsters several times, or even dozens of times stronger than regular goblins. And since King's Academy has insanely dense magic energy, the mutation rate here is way higher than normal. One group could have multiple mutants. Was I scared? No. I was excited. Finally, real combat. Life or death stuff. My only concern was whether these goblins would be enough to satisfy me. Yeah, I know that's not a normal reaction. Most people would be nervous. But something deep inside me was thrumming, like a caged animal about to be let loose. Night fell. We were chilling in the room when suddenly, noise. Screaming. Crashing. They're here. We grabbed our weapons and burst outside. It was dark, but I could see dozens of short black shadows scrambling through the village. And the smell. Oh God, the smell. Like a dumpster had a baby with a sewer. Among those short shadows, there were a few big ones. Those had to be the mutant variants. Like the torches, the villagers scrambled and lit up everything they had. Lamps, torches, anything with a flame. Finally I could see, and I immediately wished I couldn't. These goblins looked exactly like the books described. Short, ugly, fat bellies, stick-thin limbs, and a stench that could knock out a horse. What is even the point of this species existing? I drew my flash thunder sword. One swing. One goblin. Cut clean in half. Gato pulled out his spear and skewered 2 goblins at once like a kebab. Okay, the spear switch was a good call. Winnie took to the air and became a ghost in the darkness. Her combat power at night was on a completely different level. All I could see was a black blur weaving through the goblin horde, leaving corpses in her wake. Saga went airborne too, raining down ranged magic attacks. Her control had gotten way better. Each blast took out multiple goblins. In just 1 month, everyone on this team had leveled up significantly. But the goblins were tearing through the village fast. Every second we wasted meant more damage. Time to stop holding back. Lightning body on. My speed exploded. The flash thunder sword was a blur in my hands. 3, 4, 5 goblins split in half within seconds. Cutting through them felt like slicing tofu. 0 resistance. It was almost too easy. Then the 3 mutant giants noticed us. We were kind of hard to miss, what with all the goblins slaughtering. They decided to come deal with us personally. The first giant goblin charged straight at me. This thing was massive, but unlike Devon's clunky stone form, this monster was fast. Its speed was way above a normal goblin's, and the power difference was enormous. I didn't underestimate it. The second it got close, I went full force, 1 clean slash aimed at its neck. The blade bit deep, cutting from the throat all the way down to the collarbone before stopping. Couldn't cut all the way through. Its bones were ridiculously hard. I ripped the sword out immediately. Blood erupted from the gash like a broken fire hydrant. Ag! The giant goblin let out this ear-splitting screech that felt like it was trying to physically destroy my eardrums. I actually flinched for a second. I didn't expect something that ugly to also sound like a demon being tortured in hell. But I recovered fast. No time to be grossed out. The other 2 giant goblins turned to look, but I wasn't about to show mercy just because this one was screaming. The instant I pulled my sword free, I drove it straight into the thing's right eye. Die! The flash thunder sword punched through the eyeball and came out the back of its skull. The screaming stopped immediately. The massive body crashed to the ground like a sack of ugly potatoes. I didn't go near the corpse though. Monsters have crazy life force. For all I knew, that thing could still get back up. So I moved on and kept slaughtering regular goblins. 1 giant variant down. 2 to go. On the other side, Gato was fighting the second giant. His spear technique was sharp. First strike aimed right at the throat, textbook precision. But unlike me, Gato's raw stats weren't high enough. The giant goblin actually reacted in time and blocked with its massive wooden club. 1 hit from that club knocked the spear clean out of Gato's hands. He looked down. The skin on his palms was ripped off, blood everywhere. These giant goblins were way stronger than any of us expected. And yet I'd just killed one like it was nothing. I could see Gato freeze for a second, processing that gap between us. He snapped out of it and dove for his spear on the ground. But the giant goblin was already swinging its club down at his head. When he saw it happening, she could already picture Gato's skull getting crushed like a watermelon. And oh, I didn't think. I gathered every bit of magic I had left, focused it into my flash thunder sword, and threw it. The lightning-wrapped blade flew across the battlefield and pierced straight through the giant goblin's neck. Clean through. The monster's eyes went wide with disbelief, mouth opening and closing, but no sound coming out. Then it collapsed. I exhaled. That was close. Gato turned and stared at me. He'd just been 1 second away from death, and I'd saved him with a thrown sword from across the field. I could see the gears turning in his head. Should he still consider me a rival to surpass? Or does he owe me his life now? The last giant goblin saw its 2 buddies go down and went berserk. It charged straight at me, screaming with rage. One problem, I just threw my sword. I had no weapon, and that throw burned through most of my remaining magic. I had just barely enough to keep lightning body running. This was not great. The thing swung its massive club at me like it wanted to turn me into a pancake. Its mouth was wide open, screeching, and the smell that came out. I dodged the club easily enough, but I could not dodge the breath. That thing's mouth smelled like something died inside another thing that also died. I nearly passed out from the stench alone. But I wasn't panicking. I remembered what Quinn taught me. When fighting monsters, make them angry. A raging beast hits harder, but loses all technique. Every attack becomes predictable. Every swing becomes full of openings. So I did the most dishonorable thing possible. I kicked it right between the legs. AGH. The giant goblin scream could probably be heard from Holy Light City. It was furious now, completely lost its mind. Good. That's exactly what I wanted. Every swing became wild and telegraphed. Huge motions, no feints, no variation. I could see each attack coming a mile away. After dodging its second wild swing, I drove my bare fist straight into its liver. Even without a weapon, Lightning Body made my stats absolutely insane. The punch hit like a sledgehammer. The giant goblin dropped to its knees, paralyzed by the pain. I didn't stop. Eyes, throat, heart. I hit every weak point I could reach, over and over, barehanded. It was less of a fight and more of a public execution. Gato and the others were staring at me with their mouths open. The regular goblins? They watched their giant leader get slowly dismantled by a teenager's bare hands and decided this was not worth it. They started running. I finished it by ripping the giant goblin's throat out with my hand. I was covered head to toe in sticky, disgusting blood. I looked at the fleeing goblins and dropped out of Lightning Body. What are you standing around for? Chase them. Find the nest. That snapped everyone out of it. They took off after the runners. I went back and pulled my Flash Thunder sword out of the dead giant's neck, then went around and cut the heads off all 3 giant goblins, just to be safe. Then I followed the team. Behind us, the villagers finally crept outside. They saw the battlefield, goblin corpses everywhere, blood soaking into the dirt. For a moment, everything was silent. Then one person started crying, and then everyone was crying. Not from sadness, from relief. These people had been terrorized every single night, living in constant fear. And now, in one evening, their nightmare was over. I chugged an energy potion and a small mana potion at the same time. Instant recovery, stamina back, magic slowly refilling. These potions were worth every single point I spent. We followed the fleeing goblins at a steady pace. They led us straight to the edge of a forest. A dark, nighttime forest full of who knows what kind of monsters. Nobody hesitated. We walked right in. I drank another mana potion just to be safe, getting my magic reserves back to about 70%. Something in my gut told me there'd be something nastier waiting at the nest. And honestly, that feeling made me more excited, not less. The giant goblins were strong, sure, but way too slow. Zero threat to me. I wanted a real fight. After all that killing back in the village, I wasn't tired at all. I was pumped. Something inside me just wanted to keep going. Kill more. Fight harder. I didn't want to think too hard about what that said about me. We tracked the goblins to a cave entrance leading underground. The tunnel was wide, clearly built to fit the giant variants. But inside was pure darkness. It looked like a giant mouth waiting to swallow us whole. What do we do? Go in. I was about to ask everyone's opinion when I noticed Saga. She was shaking. Every muscle in her body was screaming, I don't want to go in there. She had some kind of fear of dark enclosed spaces. Then I looked at Winnie. This girl's eyes were practically glowing with excitement. Darkness was her element. She was born for this. Here's the plan. Not everyone needs to go in. We should leave someone outside to watch the exit. Saga's flying ability won't work in a tight cave, and she doesn't get any power boost at night. Saga, you stay out here and keep watch for us. Saga froze. She'd already been mentally preparing herself to force her way in despite the terror. And now she didn't have to? I could see the relief wash over her face. She was probably thinking I noticed her fear and was being considerate. And okay, maybe I was a little bit. But mostly I was worried she'd panic inside and become a liability for the team. I won't admit the caring part out loud, though. Gato thought it over. Makes sense. Wing people are strongest in open air. She'd be limited underground. I'm fine with it. Winnie nodded. Me too. I turned to Saga with what I hoped was a reassuring look. You good being out here alone? Yes. And if you guys run into trouble, just yell. I'll come rushing in to save you, I promise. I smiled. Deal. If we're in danger, we'll be counting on you. She stared at that smile like she was trying to photograph it with her brain. Gato noticed and shot me a suspicious look, like I was some kind of dangerous weapon that could capture hearts without even trying. He couldn't tell if I was doing it on purpose. Neither could I, honestly. All right, enough stalling. Let's go. The 3 of us lit torches and walked into the darkness. I glanced back once and saw Saga watching us until the firelight faded completely and the cave swallowed us up. Inside was miserable. The torches barely cut through the darkness. The air was thick, hot, and smelled like something between a garbage dump and a public toilet. Just breathing in here made me want to gag. The fact that goblins actually lived in this environment proved they were the most disgusting creatures on the planet. We pressed forward slowly. Then Winnie grabbed both my shirt and Gato's shirt at the same time. I immediately understood. She'd spotted something. We slowed our steps and crept forward carefully. The torchlight finally reached what she'd seen. 2 bodies. Girls. Naked. They were already dead. Their bodies were covered in bruises and wounds, barely recognizable as human anymore. The smell was beyond anything I could describe. And the wounds on their stomachs. I swear, this was the most horrifying, most enraging thing I had ever seen. These animals. I couldn't even imagine what these girls went through before they died. I knew what goblins did. I'd read about it. But reading about it and seeing it are 2 completely different things. A wave of pure fury hit me so hard my vision almost went red. But I forced myself to calm down. Quinn's voice echoed in my head. The angrier you are, the calmer you need to be. Learn to use your anger. The fire inside me didn't cool down even a little. I just put a lid on it. Gato and Winnie felt it too. It didn't matter that we didn't know these girls. They were our people. Seeing them treated like this by these creatures. Any human being with a pulse would feel the same rage. Keep moving, I said. My voice came out cold as ice. Nobody spoke. They just followed. The deeper we went, the more bodies we found. Each one worse than the last. My anger kept building and building with every step. Finally, we reached the main chamber. Found them. A goblin shrieked and launched itself at my face. I caught it midair with one hand. My grip tightened. The thing screamed and thrashed, staring at me with pure terror. I squeezed harder. My veins were bulging out of my arm. Crack, crack, crack. Its body twisted and compressed in my fist like a crushed can. It screamed until it couldn't scream anymore. I channeled lightning through my hand. The goblin exploded. Every goblin watching immediately froze. To them, I wasn't a human anymore. I was a monster, worse than anything they'd ever seen. They didn't want to come near me. Too bad. I wasn't giving them a choice. Lightning body activated. I charged into the swarm and started swinging the flash thunder sword like a man possessed. Limbs flew. Blood sprayed. Body parts scattered across the cave floor like confetti at the world's worst party. Not a single goblin could survive one swing. The cave turned into a slaughterhouse. Winnie and Gato joined in, and together we carved through these creatures with zero mercy. Then a different screech cut through the chaos. Louder, sharper, more dangerous. I looked up and saw something new. This goblin was about 2 meters tall, same height as the giant variants from earlier. But it was completely different. Where the giants were bulky and slow, this thing was lean, long-limbed, and clearly fast. It carried an iron spear, wore leather armor, and radiated a kind of killing intent that made the hair on my neck stand up. This one was trouble. I knew it immediately. It saw the carnage in its cave and started screeching. Then it charged, straight at Gato, the closest target. My eyes went wide. This thing's speed was almost as fast as MY base speed. For something that big, that was terrifying. Gato barely had time to raise his spear before the mutant was on him. But at the last second, the goblin changed its attack mid-thrust, converting the stab into a downward slam. The iron spear came crashing down like a sledgehammer. Gato found the best blocking angle in a split second, impressive reflexes, and caught the blow with his spear held horizontally overhead. His weapon bent into an arc so extreme I thought it would snap. But the magic-forged metal held. Gato's legs didn't hold, though. His knees buckled, and he dropped to the ground. I heard the sickening crack of bones fracturing. I was already sprinting toward them. If I didn't get there now, Gato was dead. The mutant goblin looked down at Gato with cold, calculating eyes. It raised its spear for the finishing blow. A black crescent blade came flying out of nowhere. Winnie's attack. The mutant sensed the danger and dodged, but not completely. The blade carved through its right shoulder, armor and flesh and all, nearly severing the arm. It grabbed its wounded arm and screamed. But that moment of distraction was all I needed. I was already in its face. Sword aimed at the throat. It dodged on pure instinct, but not clean enough. My blade scraped across its neck, ripping the skin open. Foul-smelling blood gushed out. Now it was angry. The pain seemed to disappear from its body as rage took over. It attacked me like a berserker, swinging that iron spear with one good arm and raw fury. This thing was fast. I was faster, but not by enough to dodge everything cleanly. So I blocked instead. Our weapons clashed over and over, the metallic ringing echoing through the cave like thunderclaps. For the first time in a long while, I was getting pushed back. This monster's raw power was on par with the giant goblins, maybe even higher. packed into a body that could actually move. Every hit rattled through my arms and shook my stance. The mutant paused for a second, genuinely confused. It couldn't understand how a human this small was blocking its attacks. By all logic, I should have been sent flying. But confusion doesn't last long in a fight. It came at me again, harder, faster, more desperate. In its mind, I was the most dangerous thing in this cave. It wasn't wrong. The longer I fought this mutant goblin, the more shocked I was. This thing didn't just have insane stats, it was smart. Its attacks had actual martial arts technique behind them. Relentless combos with zero gaps, suffocating pressure. This wasn't a dumb monster. This was a warrior. Meanwhile, Gato finally dragged himself back to his feet on broken legs. He could barely fight regular goblins now, let alone anything serious. He managed to kill two, and then one snuck up behind him and slashed his back. He spun around and skewered it, but the damage was done. The other goblins smelled weakness and started swarming him. Winnie swooped in to cover him, but she couldn't help me because my fight with the mutant was too close quarters. One stray attack from her could hit me instead. Back to my duel. The mutant's iron spear was starting to warp from clashing with my flash thunder sword. Its weapon was clearly inferior quality. It would snap soon. But this thing was too angry to care. All it wanted was to kill the human who dared invade its home. And me? I was getting more excited by the second. This was what I'd been craving. An enemy at my level. A real life-or-death battle where one mistake means death. This is where growth happens. Our emotions were spiraling in opposite directions. The more excited I got, the sharper my mind became. The angrier the mutant got, the dumber it fought. Its coordinated technique dissolved into mindless rage. Predictable swings. Obvious patterns. If Quinn could see me right now, he'd notice my swordsmanship was improving in real time. Too bad I hadn't learned a proper lightning element sword technique. If I had, tonight would have been a breakthrough moment. The basic sword style from the lightning attraction technique was doing fine, but it wasn't enough to maximize what I was learning. 3 minutes later, I felt it. The mutant's power was fading. I looked at it, covered in wounds, standing in a pool of its own green blood, eyes glazed with exhaustion, movements getting slower and slower. I drove my sword straight through its heart. The mutant froze. Its attacks stopped completely. I ripped the blade out. It stumbled backward, hands clutching its chest, the light in its eyes fading. I walked up and stabbed it through the throat. It stopped breathing. I didn't cut off its head, though. Mutant goblins have high medicinal value. They're premium potion ingredients. This body plus the 3 giant goblins from earlier should be worth a lot of points back at the academy. I turned to the remaining goblins. The cave floor was already covered in corpses, but there were still some alive. I kept killing. Then I spotted a few baby goblins huddled in a corner, shaking. A scene from a manga I read in my past life flashed through my mind. What did the main character do in that situation again? I skewered them like kebabs, one after another. Green blood everywhere. They cried and screamed, but I kept going without flinching. Oh right, that's exactly what the main character did too. The only good goblin is one that never shows up in front of people. We killed every single goblin in that nest. Every last one. Then we searched deeper and found 6 girls, still alive. But alive was a generous word. Their clothes were torn. Their expressions were blank. Most of them just stared at nothing, completely broken. Do you want to come outside? I asked, as gently as I could manage. 2 of them looked at me. When they realized I was human, tears started pouring down their faces. The other 4 didn't react at all, like their minds were already gone. I couldn't fix what happened to them. All I could do was get them out of this hellhole and let them decide what to do with their lives from here. The 3 of us carried the mutant's corpse and led the 6 girls out of the cave. Saga was waiting outside, alert and ready. I noticed 2 dead beasts near the entrance. She'd been busy too. Good girl. When she saw us, the relief on her face was obvious. Then she saw Gato, covered in his own blood, limping badly, and her expression shifted to concern. I had some cuts too, but nothing serious. Winnie was basically untouched thanks to her speed. The 6 girls behind us looked heartbreaking. There's no other word for it. It was way too late to travel back now, and Gato was in no shape to walk. I made the call. We camp here tonight. Saga and Winnie nodded. Gato didn't argue. I'd saved his life in there, so whatever I said was law now. The 2 girls who still had some awareness heard, sleep near the goblin cave, and their eyes went wide with terror. Hey, it's okay, I said quickly. Every goblin in there is dead. All of them. You're safe now. Just rest tonight. The girls listened to me without question. Good. First things first. I sprinkled insect repellent powder around our campsite, then grabbed my healing potions and walked over to Gato. Lie down. I'm treating your wounds. He hesitated. You're hurt too. Use them on yourself first. Shut up. I popped open the healing potion and poured it directly onto his wounds. HNNGH. Yeah, that sounded like it hurt. But I didn't stop. I used up every single potion I had on this guy until all his wounds were closed, then wrapped him up with basic bandages. Gato didn't say thank you. He didn't need to. I could see it in his eyes. This man just decided his life belongs to me now. If I told him to walk into a fire tomorrow, he'd ask which direction. That's how it works for kids who grew up with nothing. One act of kindness, and they'll remember you forever. I would know. After patching up Gato, I went over to the girls. I'm terrible at comforting people. Absolutely useless. So I did the only thing I knew how to do. I pulled out some bread. When I used to feel miserable, eating something always helped. The worst pain I ever knew growing up was hunger. Worse than getting beaten. Worse than anything. An empty stomach is a special kind of torture. Eat something. It'll make you feel better. One of the girls looked up at me. Something in her eyes shifted. She took the bread, took a tiny bite, and then started shoving it in her mouth desperately. Then she threw it all up. Of course she did. These girls hadn't eaten in who knows how long. Their bodies couldn't handle food anymore. Looking at the vomited bread on the ground, she started crying. The kind of crying that comes from a place so deep you can't control it. Why did this happen to me? Why is my life this miserable? Why do I have to suffer like this? Was I born just to be in pain? Stop crying. The sound will attract monsters. She looked at me like I'd slapped her. 1 second I'm handing her bread. The next I'm telling her to shut up. Mixed signals much? And crying doesn't solve anything anyway. It releases stress, sure, but we're in a dangerous spot right now. Save it for later. I said it so matter-of-factly that she didn't even know how to react. But something weird happened. She could feel something behind my words. A sadness. Like I wasn't just saying empty tough guy lines. Like I actually understood what it felt like to be at the bottom. And she wasn't wrong. Before I became a Viscount, I was just another starving commoner. I know exactly what people will do to each other over 2 bites of food. She stopped crying. Just like that. Went back to eating, slowly this time. The other girl who still had some awareness just sat there staring at nothing. Nobody slept that night. Not a single person. Congratulations. Agility 1. Yeah, whatever. Not in the mood. That night felt like it lasted 100 years. When the sun finally came up, we got out of that forest as fast as we could. We reached the village around noon. When the villagers saw the 6 girls with us, a few of them came running over with hope exploding across their faces. Those were the families. But some of them saw their daughters empty, broken expressions, and the excitement died instantly. And then there were the ones who came out hoping, and didn't find who they were looking for. The look on their faces was something I'll never forget. The village chief rushed over, practically choking on his own words. My lords, thank you so much. We can never repay. Then he saw Gato in his condition. What happened to him? Just some injuries. It's fine, Gato said like he wasn't held together by bandages and willpower. The chief immediately offered his home for us to rest in. I didn't refuse. We were all running on empty. After a bath, I collapsed into bed and was out, dead to the world. I woke up the next afternoon. I'd been acting tough this whole time, but honestly, I'd hit my limit a long time ago. My body was just running on pure adrenaline and stubbornness. The second I relaxed, I passed out for a full day. Everything hurt when I woke up. My head was foggy. I checked my stats. Strength and constitution each went up by 1 point. Battle rewards. Everyone else was already up. They were tired too, but nowhere near as drained as me. Gato was sitting in a wheelchair now. His legs were going to need at least a month to heal, even with this world's superhuman recovery rates. The village chief came over with food ready. My lord, lunch is prepared. I've also processed the goblin corpses for you to take back. We only need the giant goblins and the mutant. You can keep the regular ones. His face lit up immediately. Even regular goblin corpses have medicinal value once dried. That's real money for a struggling village like this. At least something good came out of all this mess. The village chief led us to a dining table loaded with food. a huge slab of roasted meat, a giant pot of meat soup, vegetables, fruit. For a village this poor, this spread could have fed everyone for days. Saga, Winnie, and Gato all hesitated. They felt guilty eating this much from people who had so little. I sat down and started eating immediately. My body needed fuel. And more importantly, these people prepared this meal with genuine gratitude. Refusing it would be an insult. Besides, those goblin corpses we left them were worth a small fortune. The village would be fine. Better than fine, actually. The others saw me digging in and eventually joined. The chief watched us eat with the happiest expression I'd seen on anyone in this village. We've been gone a while. We need to head back, already? Your injuries haven't fully healed yet. We've got things to do. Really have to go, the chief nodded solemnly. Then at least remember this. You saved our village. If you ever need anything, come to Ohm Village. A place to sleep and a full belly. That much we can always guarantee. Deal. But fair warning, we eat a lot. Huh? I'd go bankrupt feeding you, and I wouldn't regret a thing. All right. We're off. The villagers prepared a donkey cart for us. The whole village came out to watch us leave, including those two girls who still had some light in their eyes. They looked like they'd decided to keep living. Good. As long as you're alive, there's hope. I sprawled out on the donkey cart like I was on a luxury cruise. The fact that I was lying next to goblin corpses didn't bother me one bit. The villager driving the cart glanced back at me lounging there and actually cracked a smile. Winnie was staring at the goblin bodies, lost in thought. Clan, are we going to have to do stuff like this a lot? She was thinking about the moment when the mutant goblin almost killed Gato. That image was still haunting her. Yeah, probably. She went quiet for a bit. Will we die someday? Maybe. How do we not die? Get strong enough. The stronger you are, the less likely that happens. I was barely thinking about my answers. Just tossing them out casually, like talking to a kid asking why the sky is blue. Strong enough. Okay, clan, I'm going to get so strong that none of you will ever die. I promise. I couldn't help but smile at that. Sounds good. We'll be counting on you to protect us then. Winnie, Saga, and Gato both laughed softly. This tiny little girl making a dead serious vow to protect all of us. There was something genuinely healing about it. The trip back was smooth. No ambushes, no surprises. We passed through Holy Light City's gates without issues thanks to my Viscount badge, and the donkey cart dropped us off at the church's side entrance. We dragged the goblin corpses to the church's recycling station. A pale, creepy-looking young man walked over. This guy had zero life force coming off him. He was technically walking and talking, but gave off major, I might actually be dead, vibes. Here to recycle corpses? Yep. These are our trophies. I pointed at the 3 giant goblins and the mutant. He looked them over with dead fish eyes. 3 large goblins and a goblin warrior. Dead about 2 days. Preservation is mediocre. Price will be discounted. Yeah, fair. None of us exactly had a degree in corpse management. Let me dissect them and assess the value. He pulled out this massive, terrifyingly sharp cleaver and started carving along the muscle fibers like a professional butcher. 3 cuts and a giant goblin was fully dissected. He went through all 4 bodies faster than I eat breakfast. You're in luck. None of the bodies have rotted, and the goblin warrior's magic crystal was close to evolving. That bumps the price up significantly. The 3 large goblins, 19, 15, and 17 points respectively. The goblin warrior, 139 points. Take it or leave it. You won't find a better offer anywhere else. I was too tired to negotiate. The guy seemed honest. Done. Total from corpse recycling, 190 points. On top of that, the mission reward was 200 points. Grand total, 390 points to split 4 ways. Before I could say anything, Gato spoke up. I have a suggestion for splitting this. We all looked at him. Clan did the most work. By far. Without him, we wouldn't have completed this mission. He should take 85%. The rest of us split the remaining 15, 5% each. Winnie and Saga looked at each other and nodded immediately. Winnie's logic was simple. If Clan's happy, she's happy. Saga was drowning in guilt about not entering the cave. If she'd been there, maybe Gato wouldn't have gotten hurt so badly. She didn't even want her share. When these 3 proposed giving me 85% of the reward, I had to shut that down immediately. That's ridiculous. They'd barely break even after covering their own costs. No way. I'll take 60%. 60 is too low, Gato argued. We went back and forth for a while and finally settled on 70-something%. 280 points for me, the rest split between the three of them. Fine. I did do most of the work. I killed 2 giant goblins, the mutant, saved Gatto's life, and led the whole operation. So yeah, biggest share goes to the biggest contributor. That's just math. The others barely made a profit after you subtract their time and expenses, but they survived a life-or-death battle and came out stronger for it. So did they actually lose? Hard to say. I headed home. Milia opened the door, saw me, and her whole face lit up like a lantern. Master, you're finally back. Food. Bath water. Wake me when it's ready. I walked past her and face-planted onto my bed. I wasn't even that tired anymore, honestly. But something about being back in my own room just made me want to lie down. There's this weird comfort here that I can't explain. Like my body knows it's safe and just melts. Milia had everything ready in an hour. I dragged myself to the table, grabbed a chicken leg, and bit into it. Familiar taste. That wave of comfort hit me again. I really love this life. If things could just stay like this forever. Milia watched me eat with this satisfied little smile. To her, me devouring her cooking is the ultimate compliment. After eating, I bathed and crashed again. Congratulations. Charisma 1. That brought my charisma to 78. But I didn't wake up to check. I hadn't felt this peaceful in so long. I wasn't about to ruin it by opening my eyes. Next morning, I went to Quinn's house for training like always. The second he saw me walk in, a small smile appeared on his face. Patchy noticed from across the room and rolled her eyes. Apparently, Quinn had been in a terrible mood the whole time I was gone, walking around with a sour face like someone owed him money. Now I show up and suddenly he's all smiles. Men are so fickle. You're back. Yeah. Anything happen out there? Fought a goblin warrior and 3 giant goblins. Took some effort, but we got them. Quinn's face went serious immediately when he heard goblin warrior. Were you hurt? I'm fine. My teammate got it worse. He's still recovering. Good. That's good. I could tell he wanted to check me for injuries right then and there. He knows how strong goblin warriors are, roughly MY level. And normally, humans can't even perform at full capacity against monsters because the raw wildness of magical beasts throws people off. Most adventurers can't solo a monster at their own level. The fact that I did it on my first mission ever was apparently a big deal. I'm gonna go train. I went back to practicing my swordsmanship, and Quinn watched in silence. I could feel him thinking. After I finished today's session, he called me aside. His face had this complicated expression, pride mixed with sadness. Clan, there's something I need to tell you. What is it, Mr. Quinn? You've outgrown me. My guidance isn't doing much for you anymore. Actually, keeping you here might be slowing you down. So I'm going to introduce you to a new teacher. That caught me off guard. I opened my mouth to say something, but he kept going. The teacher I have in mind might not be the strongest in their rank, but I guarantee they'll be the best fit for you. The lessons are a bit expensive, though. That's fine. Cost isn't a problem. I could see it in his eyes. Quinn had already made up his mind. This wasn't a discussion. It was a goodbye. And if the decision was already final, dragging it out with emotions would be pointless. Quinn paused. Then he smiled, genuinely, warmly. Right. This is what it takes to get stronger. You have to be decisive. Can't let sentiment hold you back. I'll talk to the teacher tomorrow and explain your situation. Take today to rest and prepare, but I did not rest. Instead, I went and rented a forging room. I'd asked the forging instructor all the questions I needed to ask. What I was missing now was practice. Actual hands-on experience. Today felt like the right day to forge my first weapon. The cheapest forging room cost just 2 points per day. Good enough for now. The cheapest forging room was a shared one. 20 people all hammering away in the same space. The second I walked in, a wall of heat slammed into my face like opening an oven the size of a house. The doors were wide open for ventilation, and it was still unbearable. I got to my station, pulled out my prepared iron, ore, and charcoal, and got to work. The forging room only provides the furnace and hammer. Everything else is on you. And if you break their equipment, the replacement fees would make you cry. Forging as a profession is pretty great, actually. It burns money, sure, but nothing compared to potion making. The income is solid, entry difficulty is low, and the only real barrier is that it's exhausting physical work. Becoming a top-tier forge master is insanely hard, but as a side hustle for regular students, perfect fit. I tossed my iron ore into the furnace. This was a 5-point or way better than the standard 1-point garbage. My plan was ambitious for a first attempt. Combine 2 different metals and aim for a fine-grade weapon right out of the gate. Was that cocky? Maybe. But my talent literally tells me I'm built for this. So let's find out. Once the hit the right temperature, I pulled it out and started hammering to remove impurities. The sound rang out clean and crisp, and apparently that was enough to turn heads, because several people nearby stopped what they were doing to watch me. Free lesson for them, I guess. Class time costs way more than rental fees. I didn't let the audience distract me. Heat. Hammer. Remove impurities. Put it back in the furnace. Heat again. Hammer again. 3 full cycles before the iron was completely clean. Then I pulled out the second ore, a black thunder ironstone. Iron ore that got struck by lightning, packed with trace amounts of lightning element. I added earth powder while heating it to keep the energy stable and prevent the furnace from exploding in my face. 3 more cycles of purification. I could feel my hands getting faster and more confident with every swing. My proficiency was climbing in real time. Both metals purified. I loaded them into an iron canister and put the whole thing back in the furnace to fuse them together. This part took about 30 minutes of patient heating. When I pulled the canister out, I had to remove the shell. First time doing this step, but my hands moved like they already knew what to do. Wedge the nail into the seam, 1 clean tap, shell off. Smooth as butter. Then came shaping. I was making a one-handed sword, obviously. The whole reason I learned forging was to make weapons for myself. I'll branch out eventually, but swords are my main focus. 15 minutes of controlled hammering, and I had a complete blade shape. If my forging instructor Tasola saw this, he'd probably go silent, because my first attempt was already approaching his level. Deep breath. Time for the most critical step, water quenching. This is the make-or-break moment. Succeed, and the weapon is basically done. Fail, and everything up to this point becomes scrap metal. I noticed all the other apprentices in the room had stopped working. They were watching me in complete silence, some of them mentally cheering me on. I held my breath, gripped the handle with the tongs, lowered the glowing blade into the water. Hisses. Steam erupted everywhere. White smoke billowed up. My heart was pounding, but the blade held. No cracks, no warping. And as the steam cleared, a tiny bolt of lightning flickered across the edge of the sword. The fusion was perfect. I did it. First forge. Success. After that came the easy stuff. Fitting the handle, adding finishing touches. By around 10 at night, I was done. I held up my creation and gave it a test swing at a block of what I'd brought along. Cut through it like the wood wasn't even there. Sharpness. Excellent. Flexibility. Perfect. Weight and balance. Like it was made for my hand. Because it literally was. This was a genuine fine-grade weapon. And not a bad one either. Solidly in the upper range of fine quality. In that moment, I finally understood something for real. I actually have forging talent. This isn't just what the numbers say. I can feel it in my hands. I let myself feel proud for about 5 seconds. Most people need dozens of attempts before they can even make a normal quality weapon. I made a mid to high fine-grade weapon on my first try. If that's not talent, I don't know what is. But 5 seconds of pride is enough. Back to business. Fine weapons aren't worth a fortune or anything, and I definitely don't have time to set up a little market stall. So I took my brand new sword straight to the recycling station. Zero sentimentality. First creation? Memories? Attachment? Nah. Money. The guy behind the counter was some bored-looking dude in his late 20s. He saw me and went, weapon recycling. Then I handed him the sword. He was about to give me the standard, another amateur with junk, look when he noticed my Viscount badge and the actual quality of what I'd just handed him. His eyebrows went up. The recycling station usually gets failed forgings and garbage-tier weapons. Nobody brings fine-grade stuff here. He examined it carefully. 75 points for this sword. Deal? 75? The recycling station pays 90% of market value, so this sword was worth over 80 on the open market. My total material and rental costs were 13 points. 1 day of work, 63 points of pure profit. If I keep improving, I could pump out several of these a day. That's hundreds of points daily just from a side job. No wonder people say crafting professions print money. I need to invest more time into forging. Definitely. Congratulations. Spirit 1. Next morning, I went to Quinn's place as promised. He looked at me, and I could tell. There was something bittersweet in his expression. His student was about to belong to someone else. Let's go? He's already waiting. Yes, Mr. Quinn. Getting lessons from top-tier teachers isn't just about having the class hours to pay. These instructors are booked solid. The second a slot opens up, someone grabs it. There's literally an entire profession built around students with fast reflexes snatching class slots and reselling them at markup prices. So getting in usually requires a personal introduction and making a good impression. Quinn led me deep into the church compound, to a room I'd never been near before. He knocked. Come in. The voice inside already knew who we were. Quinn pushed open the door. Inside was a massive open training space. Weapons lined the walls. Nothing else. Just empty space. And in the center stood a young man. He was just standing there, not moving, not doing anything threatening. But the pressure coming off him was like staring into the edge of a blade. My whole body screamed danger. He felt like a sword that could unsheathe at any moment and cut anything that got too close. The intensity was so overwhelming, I almost forgot how young this guy looked. Quinn's voice came out stiff with respect. Master Welton, I've brought the boy as promised. Welton opened his eyes and looked at me. Deep purple irises. Calm expression. But those eyes cut through me like X-rays. One glance, and I felt completely naked, like he could see every strength and weakness I had. He nodded. Good. You can leave. Yes, Master Welton. Quinn turned to go, but shot me a look on the way out. Don't embarrass me look. I nodded seriously. Then it was just the two of us. Quinn tells me your sword talent is exceptional, but you haven't learned any formal sword techniques. Correct. I learned my family's wind sword style as a kid, but it doesn't suit me. I want to learn a lightning attribute sword technique that matches my element. I see. Attack me. Show me what you've got. I drew my flash thunder sword. And I went all in. No hesitation. No feeling things out. I treated this man like he was trying to kill me, and I needed to kill him first. Full speed, full intent, straight for the finish. Was I scared? This man could probably flick me into next week. But fear is useless. Either I show him everything, or I waste both our time. Walton seemed satisfied. He could tell most people freeze up when they face a sword master. They can't bring themselves to attack even when they know it's just a test. The fact that I charged in without blinking already put me above the average. My blade was about to reach him, and two fingers shot toward the space between my eyes. Those two fingers were coming straight for the space between my eyes. And even though they were just fingers, my brain instantly generated a very vivid image of them punching clean through my skull like it was made of wet paper. Sweat exploded from every pore on my forehead. The fingers stopped less than 1 centimeter from my face. I stopped too. Then my legs gave out, and I dropped straight onto my butt. That feeling. I just experienced death. Not the idea of death. Not the concept. The actual sensation. My soul left my body for a second and came back with a complaint. Walton looked down at me with a slight frown. Get up. Clearly I didn't blow his mind. I had guts and solid fundamentals. He could see that, but it wasn't enough to impress him. Still, like Quinn said, I had potential. So he'd give me a chance. I'll teach you 3 lessons. What you learn from those 3 lessons is entirely up to you. Thank you, Master Welton. 3 lessons. That's IT. No pressure at all. I know my sword talent score is a 10, which is the highest among all my stats. But compared to actual top-tier geniuses, I'm probably nothing special yet. That's fine. That's today. One day, I'll make every genius in this entire academy bow their heads. Come find me in the instruction room tomorrow. I have other matters today. In the meantime, go buy yourself a lightning attribute sword technique. And just like that, I was dismissed. These masters run on their schedule. You adjust to them, not the other way around. I headed straight to the library. The upper floors had combat techniques for sale, not cheap like the free books downstairs. 5 points just to get to the 2nd floor. Then I started digging through the lightning sword techniques. They were rare. Out of everything available, only 19 were lightning type. 5 were two-handed, 3 were dual-wield, leaving 11 single-handed options. After reading the introductions, I narrowed it down to 3. First, Thunder Shock Sword Style. Explosive power, big sweeping attacks, devastating damage. Downside, extremely hard to learn. Most people can't even get past the basics. Second, Flash Lightning Sword Style. Fast strikes, high attack frequency, medium difficulty, but the damage output is lacking. Third, Falling Thunder Sword Style. Balanced all-rounder, decent speed, Decent power, not too hard to learn. The downside is that it's just average. Though average isn't always bad. I picked Thunder Shock. Yeah, it's the hardest one, but the ceiling is the highest. And honestly, when I read through the preview content, it didn't feel that confusing to me. Maybe this style is secretly a perfect match. 150 points. That's what it cost. Ouch. But this is the biggest advantage of King's Academy. Techniques that would cost a fortune on the outside are available here at a fraction of the price. I rushed home with my new sword manual. Milia was surprised to see me back early. Normally I train until midnight. While I was away on the mission, she'd apparently been experimenting with making drinks. We get plenty of fruit delivered weekly, and she'd noticed I like fruit wine. So she's been trying to create new beverages. This girl's dedication to her craft is honestly impressive. Welcome home, Master. Are you hungry? No, I'm training at home today. Just do your own thing. Don't worry about me. Yes, Master. She bounced back into the kitchen, but I could feel the happiness radiating off her. Having me home means more clan time, and she was thriving on that. Meanwhile, somewhere in the church compound, the Pope was getting his daily clan report from his spies. So clan completed a D-rank mission, learned a new sword technique, and already has the strength to kill a goblin warrior. Fast growth indeed. But not fast enough. He glanced toward Xingxin's room. Apparently that girl had completely transformed, training like a maniac every single day, obsessed with getting strong enough to beat me. His little rivalry plan was working perfectly. So clan, what will you do the next time you face Xingxin? The Pope smiled his scheming smile, then frowned, because he realized the gap was growing in the wrong direction. Xingxin has an S-rank talent. Her training speed is basically light speed now. At this rate, the next time we meet, she'd squash me like a bug. And if she beats me too easily, she loses motivation again. Can't have that. Perhaps I should intervene in clan's growth a little. Speed things up. Can't let Xingxin's first rival go down that easily. The Pope started cooking up a new scheme. This man never stops plotting. Back at home, I'd been grinding the Thunder Shock sword style for 4 straight hours. I could perform the complete sequence now, but I was nowhere near the entry-level mastery threshold. The technique guide wasn't lying. This thing is brutally difficult. I could understand the theory just fine, but translating that understanding into my body was a completely different battle. At this rate, I might not even reach beginner level by tomorrow. And tomorrow I'm supposed to show up to Welton's lesson with this technique. If I walk in there unable to even perform the basics of the sword style I chose, what's he going to think? He's going to be disappointed. That's what. I gritted my teeth and trained harder. I trained from morning until evening. By the time I paused, I was so drenched in sweat it looked like someone had fished me out of a river. Milia was watching from the side, looking worried. I could tell she wanted to remind me to eat, but she didn't have the heart to interrupt. I kept going until past midnight. Congratulations. Sword Talent 1. The second that point landed, something clicked. Things I'd been struggling with for hours suddenly made sense. My swings became smoother, more natural, like the sword was finally listening to me. So it came down to the stat points again, huh? Part of me was a little frustrated. I wanted to break through on pure effort alone, but I got over it quickly. This is my talent. Only a fool ignores his own advantages. But wait, I needed a sword talent point, and that's exactly what I got? I looked at my luck stat. Was this your doing? Hard to believe it was coincidence. Then the hunger hit me like a truck. I looked over and saw Milia still watching me. How long had she been sitting there? Milia, I'm starving. Got anything? Yes, yes. It's all ready, Master. She sprinted to the kitchen and came back with reheated food in no time. We had insulated dishes, so it was still warm, barely needed any heating. I tore through that meal like a wild animal. Everything tasted 10 times better when you're this hungry. Milia watched me eat with this dreamy little smile. She loved watching me devour her cooking, and I always compliment her food when I'm done, which apparently makes her whole day. Sometimes I think she forgets she's the maid and not the wife. Good stuff as always. I've still got a lot of work tonight, so go get some rest. She nodded obediently and went to bed. Smart girl. She knows she can't take care of me if she's running on empty herself. After a short break, I chugged an energy potion and went right back to training. 3 hours later, my swordsmanship was completely different. Before, it was just basic slashing. Now every swing was massive and explosive, like I was trying to rip the world apart with each stroke. Unstoppable momentum. My status panel updated. Thunder Shock Sword Style, LV.1 entry level. Achieved. In one night. But I didn't stop. I kept training straight through until dawn. By the time Milia woke up and started making noise in the kitchen, I finally noticed the sun was coming up. An entire night of training without a single break. And I didn't feel tired at all. Just pure adrenaline and excitement. Milia rushed to make breakfast and prepare bath water at the same time. After eating, I soaked in the tub and let my body melt for half an hour. Pure bliss. Then I got out, put on clean clothes, and headed out. Walton probably doesn't care what I look like, but showing up clean and presentable is basic respect. I arrived at the training room and knocked. Same scene as yesterday. Walton standing in the center of the room like he'd been there since the beginning of time. Those purple eyes locked onto me. Still razor sharp. I looked back without flinching. Good. You've made progress overnight. Not bad. Let's spar again. I charged in just like yesterday, except this time my attacks were violent. Each swing carried that new thunder shock energy. Massive, destructive, meant to obliterate everything in its path. Result? Exactly the same as yesterday. 2 fingers stopped right in front of my eyes. I fell on my butt. Some improvement. That sword style you chose, Thunder Shock, correct? Yes, Master Welton. Could I? I studied that technique myself back in the day. It's the best sword style available to you at your current stage. Now, demonstrate the full sequence for me. I performed the entire Thunder Shock form. Big swings, explosive transitions, that crushing momentum I'd been building all night. Walton nodded. Impressive. Reaching entry level in a single day shows genuine ability. But there are still many problems. Please tell me, Master. First, the good news. Your physical foundation is excellent. Very solid. A strong body is the base requirement, and most people fail right there. You clearly take your basic training seriously. I nodded. Even with stat points helping, the sheer volume of training I do every day is way beyond normal. Now the main issue. Your understanding of the sword is shallow. You train to make yourself stronger. That's not wrong. But you've never tried to understand the weapon in your hand. Try to feel the sword with your heart. It might change everything. Feel the sword with my heart? That sounds like mystical nonsense. I couldn't wrap my head around it. It's normal that you don't get it yet. You don't have a sword-type talent, so comprehending your own sword heart will be extremely difficult. Just pay attention to what the sword feels like every time you swing. You won't understand today, but someday you will. I nodded, waiting for more. That's it. Everything else wrong with your form, you can fix yourself. Go practice on your own. Wait. What? That's IT. We're done. What happened to 3 lessons? We barely had 1.5. This is the most irresponsible teaching I've ever experienced. At least pretend to care. Walton noticed my expression and looked confused. What? Is there something else? Master Walton. I want you to demonstrate the Thunder Shock sword style for me. Walton looked surprised. Most people here, class dismissed, from a master and scurry away with their tail between their legs. But here I was, asking him to perform for me. His eyes narrowed. Then something shifted. I could see a flicker of approval. A swordsman needs to be fearless. If you're scared of everything, you'll never master the blade. Fine. I'll demonstrate once. The 3-lesson agreement still stands. Your current path has no major problems. Come find me again when you actually hit a wall. He wasn't being lazy. He genuinely didn't expect me to reach entry level in one night. His original plan was probably to help me struggle through the basics. Since I already handled that on my own, there was nothing left to fix. Then he drew his sword, and the world changed. If my Thunder Shock style was like, hey, I think I'm getting the hang of this, then Welton's version was like watching a god descend to split mountains. Every thrust carried this overwhelming pressure, like an emperor declaring war on reality itself. The air didn't just move, it surrendered. 15 minutes. That's all it took. And it completely shattered my understanding of what strong means. I didn't even know humans could reach that level. It was beyond anything I'd ever imagined. But instead of feeling crushed, I got more excited. Because I know, as long as I don't die along the way, I'll surpass even this someday. My ceiling is higher than anyone realizes. Did you see it clearly? I nodded. He'd actually slowed down on purpose so I could follow his movements. If he'd gone full speed, I wouldn't have caught a single frame. Then leave. I went straight back to Quinn's place. The second Quinn saw me, his face lit up, then immediately went stone cold. Classic Quinn. What happened? Why are you back? Did you make Master Welton angry? No, 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 Mr. Quinn. He demonstrated my new sword technique, said my direction was correct, and told me I don't need guidance for now. Just keep practicing. Quinn blinked. He couldn't believe that Welton, one of the pickiest masters in the church, couldn't find anything wrong with me. That was actually incredible. So, Mr. Quinn, can I train here? I mean, sure. Stay if you want. I don't care. Patchy was watching from across the room, covering her mouth to hide her laugh. Quinn was clearly happy but putting on his, whatever, I'm cool face. Men are ridiculous. I started training in Quinn's open yard, replaying Welton's movements in my head while practicing. Quinn watched me perform the Thundershock style, and his brain nearly broke. This was the same technique he'd studied. It took him 2 months to reach entry level. I did it in one night. He just stood there, questioning everything he knew about talent and hard work. 2 hours into practice, I stopped. Something was wrong. I'd been trying to copy Welton's exact movements, but that wasn't right. Everyone's body is slightly different. Same technique, different person, the result will always feel different. So what should I be copying? Not the movements. The feeling. That unstoppable momentum. That, anything in my way gets destroyed, energy. The sensation that nothing in this world could stand before that blade. The more I chased that thought, the closer I got to grabbing something, some invisible thread of understanding dangling just out of reach. Every time I almost had it, it slipped through my fingers like smoke. I froze, completely still. Not by choice, my mind was somewhere else entirely. Quinn noticed. His confused expression slowly shifted to shock. Is he entering an epiphany state? Epiphany, a word borrowed from the Eastern Kingdom. It describes when a genius falls so deep into comprehension that the outside world ceases to exist. Time stops. Everything else disappears. There's only you and the thing you're trying to understand. Quinn grabbed Patchy and tiptoed out of the yard without making a single sound. Can't disturb someone mid-epiphany. That's like waking a sleepwalker on a tightrope. I stood there motionless for hours. Then, around noon, my body started moving on its own. I didn't consciously decide to swing the sword. My muscles just knew. The thunder shock technique flowed out of me, but slightly different than before, adjusted, refined, mine. And the force behind each swing was like a tidal wave. Like I could flatten a mountain if it got in my way. Without even realizing it, my thunder shock sword style jumped from LV.1 to LV.2, entry level to proficient. In 2 days, I kept going until the momentum finally faded. Didn't quite reach LV.3, but I was close. Mastery was just a matter of practice now. Quinn must have heard things quiet down because he came rushing back outside. Well, did you comprehend something? Yeah, Mr. Quinn. I think my thunder shock style just hit proficient level. Quinn's mouth opened, then closed, then opened again. His own thunder shock had only recently broken through to perfect level, and he'd been at this for years. I could see him having a full existential crisis behind those eyes. Good job, was all he managed. After a long pause, he added, I can't believe someone your age entered an epiphany state. Epiphany, huh? So that's what that was. The word clicked immediately in my mind. Quinn got a little emotional. Epiphany, a state only true geniuses can enter. So many people spend their entire lives hoping for it and never get there. And you've already experienced it at your age. I can't even imagine how far you'll go, Mr. Quinn. Will I enter that state again? Probably. According to records, many geniuses have entered epiphany multiple times. That's exactly why they're called geniuses. Some of them only needed a single epiphany to surpass every other talent of their entire generation. Heavy stuff. But it was getting late, so I said goodbye and headed home. Walking down the street, I was still lost in replaying that epiphany feeling in my head. So completely distracted that I didn't notice a tall figure sprinting at me from a side alley. By the time I reacted, I was already flying through the air. I landed on my butt and rubbed my chest. Did I just get hit by a horse cart? I'm so sorry. A bright, energetic voice. I looked up, and my brain short-circuited for half a second. Standing over me was a girl about 160 centimeters tall, skin so white it practically glowed. Perfect oval face, big eyes, long black hair. She looked like someone had drawn the ideal girl and brought her to life. And the expression on her face, this helpless, guilty little pout, was the kind of look that makes you forgive someone for anything. You could burn my house down with that face and I'd say, it's okay. Accidents happen. I'm really, really sorry. I'm in a huge rush right now. Here, this is my address. If you're hurt or need compensation, come find me tomorrow." She scribbled something on a piece of paper, shoved it in front of me, and bolted. I sat there staring at the dust cloud she left behind. After she was completely gone, I finally snapped out of it. I picked up the paper, glanced at it, and pocketed it. Wasn't planning on actually going. Yeah, she was stunning. But I've got training to do. Once I'm strong enough, what kind of beauty won't I have access to? Priorities, clan. Priorities. I headed to the shopping district instead. I'd been thinking about buying my own forging furnace, but decided against it. My improvement speed is so fast that I'll probably be making magic-grade weapons soon. Buying a basic furnace now would just be a waste. I'd outgrow it in weeks. But a good forging hammer? That I could use. I walked into my usual shop. Stassi came over immediately, looking particularly cheerful today. Rosy cheeks, bright smile. Something good must have happened to her recently. "Welcome back, esteemed Viscount. What are you looking for today?" "A good forging hammer." "You have any?" "Of course. Follow me." She led me upstairs to a room dedicated to forging equipment. Average prices range from 200 to 300 points. I spotted a hammer right away and picked it up. Lighter than the basic forging room hammers. Better grip. Clearly made from superior steel. 220 points. Good deal. But I kept looking. And then I found it. 480 points. The grip felt like it was custom-made for my hand. Every aspect was a step above the first one. And it had a special enchantment. Precision subtly assists the user in controlling their striking force, making each hit more accurate. I checked a few more hammers after that, but kept coming back to this one. I'll take it. While I was there, I browsed more of the room. My wallet was getting thin, but I found some black gold charcoal. 10 times the price of normal charcoal, but it burns longer, hotter, and doesn't contaminate the ore. I bought some of that, plus handlewood and a few bottles of basic forging liquid. My skills were improving fast enough that I might need those liquids sooner than expected. Oh, and I want to look at raw ore too. I ended up buying 20 decent iron ore blocks and 20 thunder iron ore blocks. Left myself about 100 points as emergency reserves. Can't be walking around completely broke. You never know when something comes up. Then I went to rent a forging room. A better one this time. Still shared, but only 5 people instead of 20. Better furnace, better tools, and way less crowded. 8 points a day, 4 times the basic rate, but worth it. When I walked in, only 2 other people were there. They didn't even look up. Just kept working on their own stuff. Perfect. Time to forge. I pulled out my new hammer, loaded up the black gold charcoal, and got to work. The charcoal was even better than I expected. Heating time cut in half. Combined with the upgraded furnace, I was already cooking faster than ever. Then I swung the new hammer for the first time. Oh, so this is what a good tool feels like. The weight, the balance, the way it connected with the metal. It was like going from a bicycle to a sports car. I was hammering faster, cleaner, and removing impurities at double the speed. The 2 guys in the room stopped what they were doing and stared. I could practically hear their thoughts. Where did this monster come from? 40 minutes. That's all it took me to purify both ores and fuse them together. Last time that step alone took over an hour. This efficiency was getting scary. Water quench. Success. 1 fine-grade sword, done in about an hour total. I didn't stop. I immediately started the next one. And the next. And the next. My station turned into a one-man weapons factory. Assembly line clan. Each sword came out faster than the last, and the quality kept going up. I was in some kind of trance. Couldn't stop. Didn't want to stop. Sword after sword after sword. My hammer never resting. The furnace never cooling. The other forgers were watching me like I was some kind of machine pretending to be human. Congratulations. Strength 1. The system notification snapped me out of it. Wait, it's already midnight? A whole day passed. I looked at my workstation. 13 fine-grade swords lined up in a row. The other forgers were staring at me with the kind of reverence usually reserved for religious figures. I packed everything up and headed to the recycling station. Same guy as before. He smiled when he saw me. "Sir, haven't seen you in a few days. More weapons to recycle?" I nodded and started pulling swords out of my bag. 1, 2, 3, 4. His expression started to shift. 5, 6, 7, 8. His mouth was hanging open. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. The man looked like his brain had crashed and was trying to reboot. He was probably imagining me standing in front of a furnace with my hammer literally on fire, cranking out swords like a printing press. That's all of them. Start pricing. His tone immediately became more respectful. He examined each sword carefully, and I could see him getting more impressed with each one. The quality improved as the batch went on, and I'd added custom touches to some of them. Serrated edges on a few, blood grooves carved down the center of others. No two were identical. These are all excellent quality, my lord. Average price comes to 87 points per sword. Does that work for you? 87 average. Some were clearly worth more. But the recycling station's policy is 90% of market value. Take it or leave it. Fair enough. Deal. He transferred 1,131 points to my badge. 1,100 points in one day of forging. I walked out of there feeling like a man who'd just discovered a money printer in his basement. At this rate, I'd be able to buy my own premium forging furnace in no time. Meanwhile, the Pope apparently got a report about my forging output. Oh, the boy has forging talent too. Yeah, buddy. Your little experiment keeps getting more interesting, doesn't he? Next morning, on my way to Quinn's place, I stopped dead in my tracks. It was her again. The girl who'd crashed into me yesterday. She spotted me, froze for a second, and then broke into this gorgeous smile that caused at least 3 guys walking nearby to slam face first into a wall. I got hit with the same effect. This girl had what I could only describe as a first love face, the kind that makes your brain stop working. If the system rated her charisma, she'd be at least a 95. She hadn't gotten a good look at me yesterday, but now she noticed my Viscount badge and her smile got even brighter. Hey, we meet again. Are you okay from yesterday? Yeah, I'm fine. Oh, good. Haha. Then her eyes drifted to the forging hammer strapped to my back. Wait, is that a forging hammer? Are you a blacksmith too? The second she realized I might be a fellow forger, her energy level went from cheerful to maximum overdrive. Yeah, I've been learning for a while. No way? What a coincidence. I'm a blacksmith too, and then a hammer materialized out of thin air in her hand. I saw it clear as day. That hammer appeared out of nowhere. She didn't have anywhere to hide something that big on her body, so she had a storage-type treasure. Probably a storage ring. Man, I really want one of those. Life would be so much easier. But I also didn't expect a girl this cute to be a blacksmith. I guess I had some stereotypes in my head about forgers all being big, burly dudes with thick arms. What's with that look? Surprised I'm a blacksmith? Yeah, actually. Very surprised. Everyone says that. They say I don't look like a blacksmith. But I love forging. Do you think the same way? No, I'm just surprised. And judging by that hammer and the way you carry yourself, you're probably a very experienced one. Her eyes squished into happy little crescents. That smile could power a city. Haha, thanks. I'm actually an advanced blacksmith. Oh, and next month there's a blacksmith tournament. Have you signed up? Blacksmith tournament? You don't know about it? First time hearing about it. Well, now you know. It's a competition made specifically for us blacksmiths. The top 50 all get prizes, but the real deal is the top 3. They each win a transcendent flame. My brain immediately locked onto those 2 words. Transcendent flame. I knew how important those were. As you level up in forging, you need higher grade ores, and those ores are a nightmare to work with using regular fire. A high-quality flame would massively boost efficiency and success rates. Where do I sign up? At the blacksmith guild inside the church. You just need to be at least a junior blacksmith to register. I paused. Junior blacksmith. Right. I'd never actually gone to get my rank certified. I'd been so busy forging and selling that I completely skipped the official process. Where's the blacksmith guild? Can you take me there? Of course. I still owe you a proper apology from yesterday anyway. Oh, I'm Sophia Austin, by the way. What's your name? Sophia. That's a beautiful name. Suits you perfectly. I'm Clan Gassa. Haha. Thanks. She started leading the way and I fell in step beside her. Quinn wouldn't be waiting for me today. He was out on a mission, and I'd already told him yesterday that I might not come by every day since breakthroughs could happen at any time. Better to give him a heads up than let him worry. Sophia brought me to the blacksmith guild, and I was not expecting it to be underground. This was my first time in the church's subterranean level, and it was massive. Not just the blacksmith guild either. There was a formation masters guild, mage guild, knight guild, potion masters guild. All of them were down here. Each guild had a huge footprint. I couldn't even imagine how big this underground world was. I was starting to wonder if the entire area beneath Holy Light City belonged to the church. Honestly, that wouldn't even surprise me at this point. With this many students, above-ground space has limits. There might even be multiple underground levels. The second Sophia walked through the guild doors, people started calling out to her from every direction. "Little Sophia, haven't seen you in ages. Ready to go on a date with me yet?" She fired back at the beer-bellied, full-bearded man without missing a beat. "Uncle, when looking for a partner, don't just check if the other person is attractive. Maybe check yourself in a mirror first." Ha ha. The whole room erupted. The guy took it in stride. He clearly knew he had zero chance and just couldn't resist messing with her. More people came over to chat, and watching all this confirmed that Sophia wasn't lying about being experienced. She was basically a celebrity in this guild. She led me to the front desk. "Sign him up for the blacksmith tournament next month." The receptionist, a woman with visible muscle definition on her arms, definitely a blacksmith herself, looked at me and grinned. "Sophia, where'd you find this little chick? He looks like he just enrolled. Does he even have a blacksmith certification?" Sophia froze. She realized she'd never actually asked me what rank I was. Her face said, "Please don't embarrass me." I paused for a moment. "Can I take the certification exam right now?" The receptionist burst out laughing, slapping her thigh. "Huh. Sophia, you brought someone here without even checking his rank first." Sophia's face went red. "He just said he wants to take the exam. What are you laughing at?" "I'm saying, this kid is probably just bluffing. Look at him. He's probably never even held a hammer properly." Before Sophia could jump in to defend me again, I cut in. "Relax. My forging skills are a lot better than you think. Sign me up for the intermediate blacksmith exam." I pulled out my forging hammer and set it on the counter. The laughter in the room got a little quieter. "Intermediate blacksmith? Kid, you do realize that means forging a fine-grade weapon within 4 hours, right? Relax. When it comes to forging fine weapons, I'm more experienced than you." That shut her up for a second. She was actually starting to wonder if maybe I didn't know what I was doing. Maybe I learned forging before enrolling and just never got officially certified. That was possible enough that she dropped the teasing and got professional. "All right then. 50 points for the intermediate exam fee. Here's 50. Do I bring my own materials? You can buy from us, but it's pricier than outside shops." I brought my own. "You provide the furnace though, right?" "Of course. And our furnaces are way better than those rental rooms." Since the exam was public, a crowd started gathering almost immediately. A kid my age taking the intermediate blacksmith test? That was entertainment. Think he'll pass? No chance. He's probably showing off for Sophia. Kids these days would rather waste 50 points than lose face. He's about to embarrass himself even worse. They kept their voices low though. My Viscount badge was doing its job. Most people here were only knight rank, barely scraping by in the church. Viscount-level students in the blacksmith guild? Just me, Sophia, the receptionist, and a handful of others. And I was the youngest. Even these gossips weren't dumb enough to openly mock someone with my credentials. Lucky for them, I'm not petty. Talk all you want. I'll let the hammer do the answering. I tossed black gold charcoal into the guild furnace. Once it hit temperature and went the ore, just watching my setup routine made some people reconsider. Okay, maybe this kid has done this before. But most of them were still hoping I'd crash and burn. Classic human nature. Can't stand watching someone else succeed. Sorry to disappoint. I pulled the heater out and started hammering. The second that first ring echoed through the room, faces started changing. That sound, you can't fake it. Perfect force control. Every hit landed exactly where it needed to, exactly as hard as it needed to. The rhythm was so clean and consistent it sounded less like forging and more like a musical performance, just with a slightly unconventional instrument. Then I did something that really made jaws drop. I finished purifying the first or before it even cooled down. One heating cycle. That was it. Done. With quality, or there's less impurities to begin with. Combined with my rapidly improving skills, I hammered out every last bit of garbage while the metal was still glowing from the first heat. When I moved straight to the second or without reheating the first one, the whole crowd went silent. Wait. He's done already. That speed isn't intermediate level. That's advanced. A large, muscular man in his 30s had appeared at the edge of the crowd at some point. Nobody noticed him at first because all eyes were on me. But as I finished the second, people started spotting him. "Vice President, sir. The Vice President of the Blacksmith Guild." He just nodded and gestured for everyone to keep watching. I moved to the fusion step. The room was dead quiet. Even though the exam wasn't technically over, everyone could already see the ending. Me, holding a top-quality fine weapon, having barely broken a sweat. The guild furnace was excellent. Way better than anything I'd rented before. No wonder everything was going so smoothly today. The two purified ores fused perfectly under the heat. I pulled the combined metal out, cracked off the iron canister shell, and started shaping. But then I did something unexpected. Instead of hammering out the blade shape directly, I flattened the metal, folded it over, compressed it, flattened it again. Over and over. This was refining. A technique I'd been wanting to try. Each fold makes the two metals bond more completely, increases the final weapon's strength, improves the edge, and even creates beautiful patterns on the blade. Of course, more steps means more chances to fail. That's why most people taking certification exams keep things simple. Just do the basics, pass safely, go home. But these people just spent the last 10 minutes doubting me. So simple wasn't going to cut it. They said I couldn't do it? Fine. I'll show them something they've never seen a test taker do before. Second refinement fold. The crowd started muttering. This kid is showing off during an exam. Third fold. The muttering got quieter. Most of these blacksmiths, people who'd been forging for years, could only do 3 folds themselves. And they weren't even sure they could do it this fast. Fourth fold. What is he doing? Is he insane? It's just a certification exam. Why is he going this hard? By now, people had noticed the vice president standing at the edge of the crowd, and a respectful gap had formed around him. The big man's eyes were locked onto me like I was the most fascinating thing he'd seen in years. He leaned over to his assistant. When the guild president took his intermediate exam, how many refinements did he do? 5. Vice president, sir. 5. So if this boy does one more, he'll have tied the president's record. Yes, sir. The whole room knew the math. Each fold makes the metal denser and harder, which means each fold needs more force and more precision. At my age, with my body, did I even have the raw strength to keep going? After the fourth fold, the metal had cooled. I tossed it back in the furnace. The question hanging in everyone's mind, will he go for 5? Nobody was mocking me anymore. That phase was over. The reality of what they were watching had sunk in. This wasn't a kid showing off. This was the real deal. The heating took longer this time. Denser metal means more time to reach working temperature. Nobody rushed me. I waited patiently, face completely calm. No celebrating 4 folds. No swagger. Just waiting. 15 minutes later, the temperature was right. I pulled it out. 5th refinement. My hammer moved faster now, but without a single mistake. The rhythm was flawless. People held their breath. They realized they might be witnessing history. The guild president's record being matched by a first-year student at a certification exam. Some of them were already imagining bragging about this moment to their grandchildren. The metal resisted. It was brutally hard to work after 4 refinements. But I hammered through it with terrifying efficiency. 5 folds. Done. Tied with the legendary guild president. The crowd barely had time to process that before they saw something that made their blood freeze. I was folding again. 6. I was going for 6. Is that even possible? He only has 4 hours. Someone checked the clock and realized. Only 2 hours had passed. There was still time. There was actually still time. The atmosphere shifted completely. Everyone was suppressing some explosive emotion, holding it in, waiting for the outcome. If I succeeded, it would erupt. Even the vice president was staring without blinking. I grabbed the metal and started bending. Every vein in my arms popped out like cables. My face turned red from the sheer effort. This thing was dense, like trying to fold a steel beam with your bare hands. People's jaws were on the floor. This was a kid who'd been at the academy for barely a month, bending metal that seasoned masters couldn't bend. The word, young, didn't feel appropriate anymore. 10 full minutes of straining, veins bulging, muscles screaming, and the metal bent. I folded it, then hammered it flat with a fluid motion that looked like I'd done it 1,000 times before. 6th refinement. Complete. The metal cooled. I set down my hammer. Dead silence. Absolute dead silence. Even the most bitter, most critical person in that room couldn't say a single word. What they just watched wasn't normal. It wasn't even exceptional. It was something they'd never seen before and might never see again. Sophia looked like her soul had left her body. She'd brought me here thinking I was a promising beginner. Instead, she'd just watched me shatter the guild president's all-time record. I could practically see the future version of her bragging to her friends. You know Master Klangasa? Yeah, I'm the one who brought him to the blacksmith guild. You're welcome. I didn't waste time celebrating. The metal went back into the furnace. Still got a sword to finish. The heating took forever this time, longer than all the previous heats combined. But I wasn't worried. The crowd was buzzing with excitement while I just stood there looking like I was waiting for toast to pop. Nobody in this room knew this was my first time ever doing refinement folds. And honestly, let's keep it that way. My stats were carrying me hard right now. High forging talent for technique. Insane strength for the physical demands. Strong spirit attribute to keep my focus sharp after hours of hammering. Turns out forging is heavily tied to mental endurance too. Every great forge master has a powerful spirit stat. Good thing mine was solid. 45 minutes of heating. Thank God for black gold charcoal, because normal fuel would have taken even longer. But I didn't pull it out yet. I kept heating. 1 hour total. Why? Because I knew with absolute certainty, this next step had to succeed on the first try. There was no time for do-overs. The vice president watched me wait with this satisfied expression. He could tell I wasn't rushing. A steady hand at the critical moment. That's how he knew I was going to nail it. I pulled the blank out. Started shaping. The extra heating time paid off. The metal was more workable than I expected. I finished the blade shape before the temperature dropped, and everything after that flowed like water. Then came the quench. I took a deep breath. Normal water wasn't going to cut it this time. This weapon was far beyond standard fine-grade quality. A basic water quench would probably fail and destroy everything I'd just built. I pulled out a bottle of forging liquid. Cheap stuff. Only about 10 points, and poured it into the water. The whole basin turned blue. The blade went in. The second metal touched liquid. Blue electricity crackled across the surface. Steam hissed and erupted. The sword in my hand exploded with a flash of lightning that made everyone in the room flinch. 6 refinements. Forging complete. 1 heartbeat of absolute silence. Then the room detonated. Screaming. Cheering. People losing their minds. It sounded like a concert hall, not a blacksmith guild. Some guys got so excited they tried to rush me for a hug, but the vice president threw up a barrier to keep them back. I looked over at the receptionist who'd been laughing at me 20 minutes ago. So, did I pass? She opened her mouth to say yes, then glanced nervously at the vice president. Right. Gotta follow protocol when the boss is watching. There's one more step, a strength test. We need to verify the weapon's quality. May I? I handed her the sword. The moment she gripped it, her eyes went wide. The handle fit her palm like it was custom-made. The blade was 1.3 meters long, lightweight, blue-white in color with faint lightning patterns running along the surface. It looked like a weapon from a fairy tale. She walked over to a large testing stone, dense but not impossibly hard, standard for certification. She took a breath, raised the sword, and swung. The stone split clean in two. Both halves toppled over in opposite directions. She stood there frozen. It felt like cutting tofu. 0 resistance. The cross-section was perfectly smooth. The passing standard was, hit the stone 10 times, create a 30-centimeter cut, and keep the blade undamaged. She'd cut the entire stone in half, in one swing. This wasn't the sword's limit. This was the test's limit. She handed the blade back to me looking like someone had just taken away her favorite toy. I could see it in her eyes. She'd fallen in love with this sword the instant she held it. She probably wanted to offer me a fortune for it. Honestly, I was planning to sell it. But with everyone being this emotional and celebratory, pulling out a price tag right now felt like proposing a business deal at a wedding. Bad timing. You were amazing, she said. I kind of idolize you now. Then the vice president walked over. Young man, would you come with me? I looked at his chest. A marquee badge. That's 2 ranks above Viscount. Who exactly was this guy? Of course, it would be my honor. He led me through the guild to a private room. The sign on the door read, Vice President's Office. A simple certification exam dragged out the second-in-command of the entire blacksmith guild. Not bad for a Tuesday. He dropped into his chair and grinned. Sit wherever you want. Make yourself at home. I sat down across from him immediately. He raised an eyebrow. No hesitation, no nervousness. Good. How old are you? 16, Mr. Vice President. The vice president's eyebrow twitched when I confirmed my age. 16. Same age bracket as the guild president when he took his certification exam. And that guy came from a blacksmith family, trained since birth. Me? I've been forging for like a week? Kid, you're even more impressive than I imagined. For a talent like yours, I want to give you a reward. Pick one of these 3 items. Consider it a welcome gift. Once this gets reported to the guild president, there will be even more rewards coming. He pulled out 3 items, and my eyeballs nearly fell out of my skull. A forging furnace, a forging hammer, and a special bottle containing a living, pulsing flame. Even at a glance, I could tell none of these were ordinary items. Let me introduce them. This furnace is called the Star-Plucking Furnace. Glorious grade equipment. It can withstand extreme temperatures and harness the power of starlight to help you smelt, or massively boosting efficiency and success rates. Starlight-powered furnace. Okay, this hammer is the Sky Shaker Hammer, also glorious grade. Top-tier feel, plus 3 different premium enchantment effects for forging. A triple enchanted, glorious hammer. Sure, and this flame, you've probably guessed, is a transcendent flame. Though I should mention, it ranks near the bottom among transcendent flames. 3 absolutely insane items. Pick one. This was clearly a test. The vice president wanted to see what kind of person I was. Greedy? Short-sighted? Strategic? My eyes lingered on the transcendent flame for a moment. The vice president's lips curled slightly, watching me. But something in my gut told me, if you pick this flame, you'll regret it. It's ranked at the bottom. Its element doesn't even match mine. And the blacksmith tournament next month awards transcendent flames to the top 3. I could just win one there. So between the furnace and the hammer, not even close. I could feel it. The star-plucking furnace was calling to me. I'll take the furnace. The vice president's eyes lit up with genuine approval. That was the right answer. During normal hours, the star-plucking furnace operates at glorious grade. But on a clear, star-filled night, its performance skyrockets to legendary grade levels. Sometimes even better than lower-quality legendary equipment. I just picked the sleeper OP option without even knowing the full specs. My instincts are scary sometimes. Smart choice, clan. He handed me the furnace. I bowed my head slightly. Thank you, Vice President. Huh? Drop the formality. Name's Gugong Yahello. Just call me Uncle Gugong. Oh, we're doing the uncle thing now? This marquee-ranked powerhouse wanted to be my uncle? Someone this high up in King's Academy didn't get there by being weak or stupid. The guild president himself was only a marquis. And this man was basically adopting me after watching one exam. Thank you, Uncle Gugong. That's more like it. And listen, if anyone gives you trouble, drop my name. I'll handle it personally. He was not joking. A marquis backing me up? That's like having a nuclear deterrent in my pocket. I'll definitely come running if I need help, Uncle Gugong. Good kid. Now go get your badge. Oh, and take this. He held out a spatial ring. A storage ring. The thing I'd been wanting ever since I saw Sophia pull a hammer out of thin air. It holds about 5 cubic meters. Another welcome gift. Use it to store the furnace. And don't go showing this off to people. 5 cubic meters of pocket dimension. I took everything without hesitation. I'm still growing. This is not the time to play humble. Every advantage counts. But every gift gets recorded in my mental ledger. One day I'll pay all of this back 100 times over. I headed back to the main hall. The receptionist, Kola, had my intermediate blacksmith badge ready. Here's your badge, clan. And I already signed you up for the blacksmith tournament. Thanks, appreciate it. So, about that sword you forged today, yeah? Can I buy it? I really love it. I'll pay top price. 3,000 points. How about it? 3,000. A 6-fold refined fine weapon is better than some magic-grade weapons, sure, but the market price would cap at maybe 1,500. She was offering double that. This girl was serious. Which also made me wonder, what kind of receptionist casually throws around 3,000 points? She had to have some serious backing. No front desk worker is that loaded. Kola was getting nervous watching me think. Turns out 3,000 points was several months of her allowance. She couldn't go higher. And yeah, Kola was not a regular receptionist. She was the guild president's little sister, working the front desk because she had nothing better to do, safely protected by her big brother. Classic rich kid coasting through King's Academy until her minimum 10 years were up so she could leave. Deal. I'll sell it. Really? Thank you. I'm Kola. You can call me Kola or Big Sister Kola. Sure thing, Kola. She noticed I didn't add the Big Sister part. But geniuses don't call people Big Sister that easily, so she let it slide. 3,000 points hit my badge. The sword changed hands. She looked at it like she'd just been handed a newborn baby. What's this sword's name? Never named it. It's yours now. You pick. Her face practically glowed. Naming rights too? Christmas came early for this girl. By the way, does the Blacksmith Guild sell forging equipment and materials? Of course we do. We're the Blacksmith Guild, and members get discounts. Your intermediate rank, so everything is 5% off. You can also sell your weapons through us. Auctions take a 2% fee. Direct sales take 1%. Not bad at all. Plus, you get monthly resource support. Intermediate blacksmiths receive 30 pounds of black gold charcoal, 5 pounds of iron ore, and 5 pounds of attribute, or your choice of element. Let me take you to pick those up first, then we'll go shopping. Free monthly resources on top of discounts? Being in this guild was already paying for itself. She led me to a warehouse. Not a store, not a display room. The actual warehouse where unsold inventory was kept. Just pick whatever you want from here. Prices are already marked. Hold on. You're a front desk worker and you're letting me browse the warehouse directly? Are we sure you're just a receptionist? Because this feels like VIP treatment that comes with having a guild president for a brother. What's wrong? Pick something already, right? Picking now, I went straight to the forging hammers. My current one was good, but with 3,000 fresh points burning a hole in my pocket, it was upgrade time. I only looked at hammers priced above 1,000. My eyes scanned across one after another until they locked onto a beast priced at 2,500 points. The diamond hammer. 2 enchantments. First, power. Strikes hit with double your actual force. Absolutely critical for working high-grade ores. Second, precision. The same effect as my current hammer. Apparently, precision is the bread-and-butter enchantment for forging hammers. I picked it up. Heavy. Way heavier than my old one. But the moment I gripped it, energy surged through my whole body. I could already picture myself going absolutely berserk with this thing at a furnace. This hammer. And these ores too. Cola did the math. With your 5% discount, that comes to 2,890 points. I'll round it down to 2,800. She just casually dropped 90 points off the price. Girl, if you keep rounding like that, I'm never shopping anywhere else. After paying, I headed for the exit. Sophia was still waiting by the door. If she hadn't bumped into me yesterday, I wouldn't have found this guild this early. I owed her one. Thanks for today, Sophia. Don't thank me. You earned everything in there yourself. Heading home. Not going to try out your new reward? Tomorrow. I've still got training to do today. Wait. How do you know I got a reward? You performed like that, and the vice president personally escorted you to his office. Obviously he gave you something. Uncle Gugong is generous like that. Fair point. Well, I'm heading back. Wait. Can I walk you home? I want to know where you live so I can find you later. Sure. We just met today, but my impression of Sophia was positive so far. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to her than a random coincidence. Our first meeting was straight out of a romance manga. Pretty girl literally crashes into the protagonist on the street. She had the face of a dream girlfriend. Everything was a little too perfect. I was more willing to bet she had some kind of agenda. People don't just stumble into your life this conveniently. What I couldn't see was Sophia's inner thoughts. She was thrilled I agreed. Apparently I was her mission target. Someone important had personally assigned her to get close to me. She needed to complete this task properly. Interesting. Very interesting. We arrived at my front door. I knocked. Milia opened up instantly. Master, you're back. Then her eyes drifted to Sophia standing next to me. Her expression froze. Milia's first reaction to Sophia was pure shock at how beautiful she was. Then I could see something more complicated cross her face, like she was trying to figure out if this gorgeous girl and I were together. This is where I live. Okay, well, I'll head back then. Sophia turned and walked away, but her steps were painfully slow. She was clearly waiting for me to call her back. I didn't. I had training to do. I hadn't done my basic exercises yet today, and the clock was ticking. Training is like rowing against the current. The moment you stop, you drift backward. I heard Sophia's footsteps stop. Then I closed the door. I didn't even look back. I stripped off my shirt, grabbed my practice iron sword, and got to work immediately. Somewhere outside, Sophia was probably staring at my closed door thinking, "Are you serious right now?" She'd basically handed me every possible hint, and I just shut the door in her face. She probably thought I was playing hard to get. Nope. I was literally just training. Milia watched me practice with a complicated expression. I could tell something was bothering her, but she didn't say anything. Honestly, even if I married 10 wives in the future, I think Milia would be fine with it, as long as she could stay by my side. Her biggest fear wasn't competition. It was being left behind. These past weeks had been the happiest time of her life since coming to King's Academy. She didn't want it to end. Congratulations. Lightning Attribute Talent 1. My eyes lit up. That brought my lightning talent to 8. My luck was on fire lately. Another lightning point meant the thunder attraction technique would level up even faster now. Milia, I'm hungry. Right away, master. She heated up the food she'd already prepared. I ate, bathed, and crashed for the night. Standard routine. Next morning, basic training as always. But halfway through, someone knocked on the door. Milia went to answer and found another beautiful girl standing there. Except this one was completely different from Sophia. Wheat-colored skin, revealing clothes, lean athletic muscle, and a wild energy that screamed, I could probably kill you, but I'd look amazing doing it. It was Cola. She took one look at Milia, reached over and pinched her cheeks, and grinned. You're the one taking care of Clan? So cute. Let me squish. Is Clan home? Tell him Cola's here. Yes, Miss Cola. Milia wasn't even mad. She actually thought Cola was nice, the kind of person who treats everyone the same regardless of status. She came over to me nervously. I put down my training sword and wiped the sweat off my face. What is it? A Miss Cola is here to see you, master. I threw on a shirt and went to the door. Cola was standing outside, and despite her loud, easygoing personality, she'd stayed politely at the entrance without coming in. Surprisingly well-mannered. She looked at my sweat-soaked hair. Already forging this early. No, I was training. Huh? Did I interrupt? It's fine. What's up? The guild president wants to meet you tonight. You free? Absolutely. Tell him I'll be there on time. Cool. Good luck with training. She bounced off, and I went back inside. The guild president wanted to see me. Was I nervous? Not even a little. I've already stood face to face with the Pope. After that, nobody in this academy could make my heart skip a beat. What I didn't know was that news about my sixfold refinement had already spread across the entire church. People were talking about it everywhere. Not just the Blacksmith Guild, other guilds were discussing it too. Over at the Potion Masters Association, their president had called an emergency meeting with his senior members. I'm sure everyone has heard about what happened at the Blacksmith Guild yesterday. A 16-year-old who performed 6 refinements on a fine-grade weapon. Thoughts? The room exchanged uneasy glances. They'd done their research overnight and understood exactly what 6 refinements at age 16 meant. It was something the Blacksmith Guild's legendary president couldn't even do at the same age. And that man was terrifying enough. In just 10 years, he'd taken the Blacksmith Guild from a nobody organization to a serious rival to the Potion Masters Association. He'd earned a marquee title in record time. A genuine legend. Now that same guild had produced someone with even more talent? The Potion Masters Association had held the title of #1 guild for years. But now they could feel the ground shaking beneath their feet. If this kept up, the Blacksmith Guild wouldn't just be catching up, it would blow right past them. Meanwhile, over at the Potion Masters Association, my little forging exam was apparently causing a full-blown crisis. Their president had gathered all the senior members for an emergency meeting. The problem? The Blacksmith Guild was growing too fast, and now they had a 16-year-old genius who outperformed even the Blacksmith Guild president at the same age. The Potion Masters had been sitting comfortably at the #1 guild spot for years, and now they could feel the throne wobbling. Their vice president, clearly the only person in the room with a functioning brain, stood up and said, "We need to lower the requirements for becoming a potion master. Make it more accessible. Attract more young talent. That's how we survive." The room exploded with outrage. Lower standards? If we flood the market with mediocre potion masters, our prestige is finished. There'll be poisoners everywhere. Counterfeit drugs. Chaos. The vice president is too young and naive to understand. One by one, every single person shot the idea down. But the vice president could see what they couldn't. The potion industry was already declining. Young people were choosing other careers because the barrier to entry was ridiculously high. How many geniuses had they lost because of that? He looked around the room. Nothing but hostile stares. These people only cared about protecting their own positions. They couldn't see past their own wallets to the bigger picture. The vice president made a quiet decision. Maybe it was time to leave this guild, and forge his own path. The president watched all of this in silence. Deep down, he suspected the vice president might be right. But he wasn't ready to admit things were that bad yet. For now, maintaining the status quo would have to do. My forging exam wasn't just shaking up the potion masters either. Every guild that was already weaker than the blacksmith guild felt the pressure increase. The blacksmiths were pulling further ahead, and everyone else was falling further behind. Not that I knew any of this, and even if I did, wouldn't change anything. I'm not delusional enough to think one 16-year-old can reshape entire industries. I'm talented, sure, but talent isn't mastery. Not yet. After morning training, I headed to the blacksmith guild for the afternoon. Yeah, the meeting with the president wasn't until evening, but I had nothing else to do and I was planning to forge anyway. Cola saw me walk in and blinked. Wasn't the meeting tonight? Why are you here already? I was going to forge this afternoon anyway. By the time I'm done, it should be about time to meet the president. Oh, sure? Let me set you up with a nice forging room. Free of charge. Can't argue with free. She led me to her personal forging room. Nice space. Good equipment. Mind if I watch? I shrugged. I didn't have any secret techniques to hide. Everything I'd accomplished so far was pure talent and brute force. Nothing worth keeping secret. I pulled the star-plucking furnace out of my storage ring and set it up. Tossed in some black gold charcoal. Honestly, the charcoal that used to feel like premium fuel now seemed almost embarrassing next to this furnace. The star-plucking furnace had probably never eaten anything this low-grade in its entire existence. Cola's eyes went wide when she recognized the furnace. She knew exactly whose it used to be. The vice president had given me something this valuable? I walked over and opened the window. Even during daytime, starlight energy exists, it's just faint. The moment sunlight touched the furnace's surface, a soft blue glow appeared across its body. Then I tossed in the ore. Cola froze. What I'd just thrown in was a thunder roar stone. 80 points per piece. This was the kind of ore used to craft magic-grade weapons. She sucked in a breath. You're going for magic grade? I didn't answer. Just watched the furnace heat up. With the star-plucking furnace boosting my success rate and the diamond hammer doubling my striking force. Yeah, it was time to level up. I stared at the star-plucking furnace and tossed in some high-quality earth powder to stabilize the thunder roar stone. Under the furnace's heat, the ore reached forging temperature in just 5 minutes. With basic black gold charcoal as fuel, this furnace was absolutely ridiculous. I waited a few more seconds until the ore hit its optimal temperature, then pulled it out and started hammering. The diamond hammer hit different. Literally. The first swing came out way too strong. The doubled force caught me off guard. But it was still within manageable range. I started adjusting on the fly. By the 6th swing, I'd found the perfect rhythm. After that, it was smooth sailing. Cola was watching from the side, quietly impressed. Yeah, adapting to a new hammer mid-forge in 6 swings isn't normal. I know. 1 ore processed. Then I pulled out 3 more regular ores and processed those 2. For total. Because magic-grade weapons need at least 4 ores, 1 high-quality attribute or plus 3 supporting ones, and at minimum 2 refinement folds after fusion. The fusion step went shockingly fast. The star-plucking furnace was boosting everything. Speed, heat distribution, quality. I'd known it was good, but this good? At this rate, I could probably finish 2 magic-grade weapons this afternoon. First refinement fold. The diamond hammer rang out with that clean, rhythmic sound as the 4 ores started merging together at a speed that surprised even me and Cola. The hammer's power enchantment was doing serious work on top of my own strength. But I wasn't satisfied with the pace. So I activated Lightning Body. Faint electricity crackled across my skin. All my stats surged. Thanks to my recent lightning talent increase, my control over Lightning Body had improved. Better magic distribution, bigger stat boost, longer duration. Every single point added to my lightning talent was basically an epic level upgrade to my entire combat and crafting ability. Cola's expression turned serious. She was starting to realize my technique wasn't far behind hers anymore. First fold done faster than expected. I tossed the blank back into the furnace. Even though it hadn't fully cooled yet, I didn't want to keep working it at a lower temperature. When making higher-grade weapons, each refinement fold should ideally be completed in one continuous go, letting the metal cool mid-fold affects the final product. A small detail I'd picked up from the forging instructors. Cola nodded approvingly when she saw this. And somewhere nearby, hidden so well that neither of us noticed. The guild president was also watching and nodding. The reheat only took a minute longer than the first time. This furnace was absolutely broken for its tier. A glorious grade furnace heating small ores like these was like using a cannon to swat a fly. I pulled the blank out and started the second fold. The difficulty had jumped hard. The hardness was already close to what I'd experienced at 5 folds yesterday, with just 2 ores. 4 ores fused together made for an incredibly dense blank. But my equipment had upgraded too, and I had lightning body running. No hesitation. I hammered through it in half the time it took me yesterday. The second fold was done. I looked at the blank, hesitated for exactly 1 second. Then I went for a third fold. I knew the risk. This was going to be way harder than anything I'd done before, harder than 6 folds on a fine weapon. There was a real chance of failure. But so what? Every success is built on a pile of failures. I'd never failed a forge before, but I wasn't afraid of failure. If it happens, I start over. Simple as that. And I wasn't about to let it happen easily. The blank barely moved when I started bending it. My face turned red from the effort. The density was beyond what my base strength could handle. So I cranked lightning body to maximum. Magic consumption nearly doubled. But my stats surged again. 30 minutes. 70% of my magic reserves burned through. Arms shaking, veins popping, every muscle fiber screaming. But the blank folded. Third refinement on a magic-grade weapon. Done. The blank had cooled down, so back into the furnace it went. This forge wasn't going to be perfect. I knew that. First time making magic-grade gear, some imperfections were expected. The third refinement fold was brutal. The metal was so dense now that every hammer strike sent a jolt of numbness up my arm. My speed dropped. My efficiency tanked. I had to reheat the blank multiple times because it kept cooling before I could finish working it. And here's the thing nobody tells you about being a blacksmith. It's not just about skill. It's about raw strength. The higher the weapon grade, the more insane the force required. I was struggling at magic grade. What about hero grade? Glorious grade? Legendary? Those weapons couldn't even be forged by human strength alone. You'd need every auxiliary tool in existence just to keep up. So what do you do when your strength isn't enough? You grind. You heat it up, hammer a little, heat it again, hammer a little more. Over and over and over. No shortcuts. No tricks. Just pure, painful, time-consuming grinding. Welcome to the Forge, clan. Doesn't matter if you're a genius or a grandmaster. When the metal is harder than your muscles, you shut up and grind. I could see Cola and someone else in the corner both wearing matching evil grins. They knew this feeling. Every blacksmith does. 3 hours. That's how long the third fold took. My right hand was throbbing. Then I had to shape the blade, which was another endless marathon of heating and hammering, millimeter by millimeter. I glanced outside. The sun was going down. The meeting with the guild president was supposed to be tonight. Was I going to have to stop mid-forge? That thought made my stomach drop. But then I noticed a young man standing in the corner of the room. I had no idea when he'd gotten there. Completely invisible until I looked directly at him. And he felt dangerous. This was not a normal person. Was this the guild president? Why did you stop forging? He asked casually. Cola spun around and nearly jumped out of her skin. Bro, when did you get here? You scared me half to death. Been here a while. Saw someone using your forging room and thought it was you. Turns out it's a young man. You must be clan. Keep forging, I'll watch. Maybe I can give you some pointers. The guild president himself was offering to watch me forge and give advice. Energy surged back into my exhausted arms. I turned back to the anvil and kept going. He watched in silence, and I could feel his eyes analyzing every single movement. As a master-level forge smith, he could obviously tell I was new to this. But he could also see something else, an instinct for forging that went beyond experience. Like I could feel the metal's nature without being taught. 1 more hour of grinding. My right hand was shaking uncontrollably now, but the blade was almost done. This was the worst possible moment to get careless. So I gritted my teeth through the pain and kept my strikes precise. The president noticed my condition, but instead of concern, I saw respect in his eyes. 16 years old, first time forging magic grade, pushing through physical limits without complaining. He couldn't understand how someone my age had this kind of grit. Then he figured it out, because I was 16. An older, more experienced forger would have stopped after the second fold and played it safe. Youth and recklessness had their advantages. Finally, quenching time. I pulled out the high-quality forging liquid I'd bought from the warehouse yesterday and poured it into the water basin. The liquid spread out in expanding rings, turning the entire pool a deep blue-purple. Electric arcs flickered beneath the surface. I held the blade over the water. Before it even touched, the surface started trembling from the heat alone. I lowered it in. White steam erupted. I watched the blade like a hawk, every nerve focused on what I was feeling through the tongs. Then, a spike of instinct. Something was wrong. I yanked the blade out immediately. If I'd left it in one more second, the blade would have cracked. I waited a few moments for the thermal shock to stabilize, then carefully lowered it back in. From his corner, the guild president's eyebrows went up. He knew exactly what had just happened. If I hadn't pulled the blade out at that exact moment, the entire forge would have been ruined. That kind of instinct, sensing the metal's breaking point through feel alone, was something most blacksmiths never developed in their entire careers. And I'd done it on my first magic grade attempt. A purple glow rippled across the entire blade. It was done. My first magic grade weapon. 3 refinements. Successfully forged. I attached the handle and picked it up. The feel was incredible. The moment my hand wrapped around the grip, the lightning magic in my body surged to life on its own. The amplification wasn't quite as strong as my current Flash Thunder Sword, about 10% less. But the handling? Absolutely destroyed the Flash Thunder Sword. No comparison. My hands for crafting sword grips were apparently blessed by some forge god. I decided right there, from now on, I'm only using weapons I forge myself. Unless I stumble across some legendary super weapon, everything else can take a seat. I'd swap to this new sword as my main and keep the Flash Thunder Sword as a backup for when things got really nasty. I walked over to a wooden testing post covered in old slash marks. This is for testing swords, right? Cola nodded eagerly. Yep, go for it. I swung. The blade bit halfway through the post. Didn't cut all the way through, but the slash went way deeper than every other mark on that post. Cola looked like her soul was leaving her body. Those marks were all hers. And my casual first swing just made every single one of them look like scratches from a kitten. The president clapped gently. He could tell the sword's actual sharpness and durability were slightly below Cola's magic-grade weapons. The deep cut was mostly because of my ridiculous strength. But he wasn't about to tell Cola that. She'd been slacking off lately, and a little humiliation was the perfect wake-up call. Then he turned to me and got serious. Clan, your forging talent is real. You're a natural-born blacksmith. But your strengths and weaknesses are equally obvious. Here it comes. The real feedback. There are no major problems with your technique. What's holding you back is what holds back every beginner. Lack of experience, insufficient strength, and poor control over the small details. You should learn a body tempering technique to fix the strength issue. I can also teach you a forging hammer technique, the star forging hammer method. Then he got into material selection. This was the gold. Your material choices were reasonable, but not optimal. You used Thunder Roar Stone as the main or with 2 Earth Attribute ores and 1 regular iron ore. That's not wrong, but there's a better path. Since you already use Earth Powder for stabilization, you only needed 1 Earth ore. The extra Earth ore suppressed your sword's lightning amplification. That's why the weapon feels sharp, but doesn't boost your element much. That explained everything. The extra Earth materials plus all the reheating had dampened the lightning properties. Instead of that second Earth ore, you could use a gentle water attribute ore. It would make the forging process smoother and produce a lighter final product. Every single word this man said hit a bullseye. Masterclass advice. Efficient, practical, zero fluff. I'll remember all of that, President. By the way, you wanted to see me tonight. Was there something specific? Yes. I discussed things with Gugong yesterday. We've decided to give you monthly resource support. He handed me a list. I read it, and my eyes nearly popped out. Black gold charcoal, 1,000 pounds. Attribute, or 100 pounds. High-quality iron, or 300 pounds. Advanced forging liquid, 5 bottles. Standard forging liquid, 50 bottles. 1,000 pounds of charcoal, 300 pounds of iron ore. Do they think I'm a machine? Actually, considering my forging speed, a month of going all out might actually burn through all of this. Maybe. Since your rank isn't very high yet, this will be your standard support until you become a full forge master. I'm very satisfied, President. Good. I've got nothing else tonight, so keep forging. I'll give you pointers as you go. And here, He pulled out a book. This is the star forging hammer method, my family's ancestral hammer technique. Study it, and ask me or Kola if anything's unclear. He was giving me his family's ancestral technique? I opened my mouth to accept, but there's a condition. I paused. What condition, President? It's simple. This technique is our family's ancestral secret. Only family members can learn it. A man like you will obviously have more than one wife in the future. I'm not even asking to be your primary marriage partner. So how about a marriage alliance with our family? I blinked. Did not see that coming. But after thinking about it for a few seconds, it actually made sense. Love isn't a necessity for me. In this world, marriage alliances and mutual benefit are the most stable foundations for any relationship. Right now, I couldn't offer the president much in terms of power or resources, so a marriage tie was actually the next best thing. And let's be real, with his status, marrying into MY family was a downgrade for him. He wasn't doing this for what I am now. He was investing in what I'd become. Cola's face turned bright red the second she heard marriage alliance. Bro, what are you saying? The president didn't even blink. Relax. It's probably not you. You're too old. You think he'd be interested? Kola snapped. She drove her elbow straight into his kidney. But this man's body had been forged by years of hammering. Literally a body of steel. He didn't even flinch. Seeing her attack, do absolutely nothing. Kola looked like she was about to explode. Then the president casually bonked her on the head like a lion disciplining its cub. Dunk. Kola crouched on the ground holding her head, crying. From the sound alone, that was a quality skull. Sorry about that, clan. She's been like this since childhood. Just a little discipline. Sure, I nodded. Not convincingly. So, my proposal, can you accept? I can. But I have one question. What would I need to give up for this alliance? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. We just want the connection and a good relationship with you. Any children would take your surname. No restrictions on your freedom whatsoever. That sealed it. The president's family was genuinely a great alliance partner. All benefit, no strings. Then I accept. Excellent. Here's the technique manual. Study it well. I will, President. I checked my hammer technique talent. 6 points. Not bad at all. Only a bit lower than my sword talent. If this manual wasn't too complicated, I should pick it up fast. The president started teaching me on the spot. Whenever I got stuck, he corrected me immediately. The star forging hammer method wasn't as complex as I'd feared. The core concept was using special breathing patterns and specific techniques to generate force through momentum. You ride the inertia of each swing into the next, saving massive amounts of stamina while dramatically increasing speed. The trade-off? Using inertia makes it incredibly hard to control your force precisely, and it's easy to injure yourself if you lose focus. Clear strengths, clear weaknesses. My kind of technique. Within minutes, I found the rhythm. My diamond hammer came down on a practice, and produced a deep, resonant THOM that was completely different from before. Cola's head snapped up. Wait, that sound. She knew that sound. It was the signature ring of their family's hammer technique. She listened to the second strike. Same sound. He already got it. It's been like 10 minutes. Every single swing after that produced the same sound. Consistent. Controlled. Like I'd been doing it for weeks. Even the president's expression changed. He'd been fast too when he first learned, about the same time as me. But after his first success, it took him a full week to stabilize the technique. I was stable from the second swing onward. That's my biggest advantage. Once I succeed at something even once, my body memorizes the exact feeling. After that, I can replicate it almost every time. It's like my muscles have photographic memory. I didn't push for speed though. This technique could hurt me badly if I got careless. Steady and safe for now. The president coached me until midnight. After that, he had business to handle and would be away from the guild for a while. But I'd already gotten more than enough to work with. Half a month flew by. In those 15 days, my stats exploded. The lightning talent boost had accelerated my thunder attraction technique training, which in turn accelerated everything else. Including stat point gains, my total growth over the half month was sword talent 1, strength 10, agility 6, constitution 6, spirit 7. My sword and hammer technique levels didn't rank up, but all that daily forging had pumped my strength through the roof. I actually looked noticeably more muscular now. Current stats: strength 61, agility 51, constitution 54, spirit 47. My charisma hit 80. Apparently living well and eating right made me more handsome by the day, and my lifespan had climbed to 89 years. At this rate, immortality wasn't out of the question. As for forging, the progress was massive. With the star forging hammer method fully in my toolkit, I could now produce 5-fold refined magic-grade weapons. Not every attempt succeeded, but even attempting it at my age was insane. Saga came to invite me on another mission today. I had to turn her down. Why not, clan? We finally found a good one for our level. I've got the blacksmith tournament in 2 weeks. Every single day matters right now. I can't afford to lose any training time. She looked a little disappointed, but she understood. Apparently she and the others had already heard about the super genius at the blacksmith guild. When they found out it was me, their reactions were complicated. Like they were happy for me, but also realizing the gap between us was getting wider every day. Okay then. Good luck, clan. We'll come watch the tournament. I nodded and headed toward the guild. Behind me, Saga, Winnie, and Gato had a little team meeting. Gato broke the silence first. Should we pick side professions too? They'd all tried before and given up. Saga's brain couldn't handle studying a profession and training at the same time. Winnie had the same problem. Gato was too obsessed with combat to bother. So all three had decided to be pure fighters. Then MY news dropped, and suddenly they realized how far behind they were falling. The resources, the connections, the opportunities. My side profession had put me in a completely different world from theirs. Gato decided to become a blacksmith too. His weapon master talent let him learn any weapon quickly, so maybe hammers would click fast. Actually not a bad theory. Winnie chose to become a formation master. Her talent combined with arrays could produce devastating combat power. Saga couldn't decide. She hated studying new things. Eventually she picked blacksmithing too, mostly because, well, she might get to see me more often at the guild. I had no idea my friends were making life decisions because of me. I was too busy walking to the guild. Then I saw who was standing at the entrance, and every muscle in my face tightened. Xingxin, the Holy Maiden, the first person to genuinely disgust me since arriving at King's Academy. She noticed me and froze for a second. I'd changed a lot since our last fight. Taller, more muscular, sharper features. But whatever impression my looks made, it was immediately buried under the memory of me beating her face in. Hey, you there? The blacksmith boy. Make me a sword. If it's good enough, I'll reward you generously. If it's garbage, don't blame me for making your life difficult. Ha ha. She was talking about me. Right to my face. Calling me, the blacksmith boy, like I was her personal servant. I didn't respond. Didn't even look at her. Just walked right past like she was a lamppost. One day I'm going to beat this woman so hard I could feel her rage building behind me. She was about to lose it. Holy Maiden, please remember the Pope's instructions. Her attendant's quiet reminder stopped her cold. Apparently 10 days ago, the Pope had specifically warned her. Clan was now an officially recognized talent within the church. If she harassed me again, she would be punished. Even being the Holy Maiden wouldn't save her. The thought of church punishments made her shudder. Some of her hatred toward me actually faded, replaced by fear of consequences. But she couldn't just leave without getting the last word. What's with that attitude? You won't even take my business? Are all the blacksmiths in this guild this arrogant? People started gathering. When they realized who was being harassed, me, the guild's prized genius, they got fired up. Who does this girl think she is? Then they noticed her badges. 2 of them, Marquis rank, and the Holy Maiden insignia. Every single person who'd been ready to defend me immediately went quiet. A Marquis-level Holy Maiden picking a fight with their prodigy? What were they supposed to do? Then Kola walked out. I could see the fear on her face, but she stepped up anyway. Holy Maiden, what an honor to have you visit our guild. If you'd like one of Clan's weapons, we have plenty in stock. He's quite busy at the moment, so perhaps you could browse our selection instead. Smooth, diplomatic, brave, good sister, Kola. But I couldn't let her take the heat for me. Before I could move, though, Xingxin turned her ice-cold eyes on Kola. Who do you think you are? Did I ask you? I was talking to Clan, not some nobody. Get out of my face before I make you regret opening your mouth. Don't go thinking you're somebody important. Kola's fists were clenched so tight her knuckles turned white. She wanted to slap Xingxin across the face so bad, but she held back. Even though her brother was the guild president, that meant nothing against the Holy Maiden. Xingxin had an S-rank talent. In a few years, she'd be unstoppable. If Kola made an enemy of her now, it wouldn't just be Kola who suffered. Her brother and their entire family would get dragged down too. So Kola swallowed her pride. For once, the girl who was afraid of nothing chose to stay quiet. That's when I opened my mouth. Are you done? Did you eat actual crap for breakfast and forget to brush your teeth? Because your mouth smells like a sewer. So what if you're the holy maiden? The church having someone like you as their saint is a national tragedy. Keep running that mouth and I swear I'll put you in the ground. Dead silence. Every single person in the vicinity froze like someone had hit the pause button on reality. Then the horror set in. Eyes went wide. Jaws dropped. Someone might have actually stopped breathing. Kola tried to jump in and apologize on my behalf, but I cut her off immediately. Stay out of this. This is between me and her. My voice was harsh, but Kola understood. I wasn't being rude to her. I was making sure she wouldn't get caught in the crossfire. This was my mess. My fight. She didn't need to go down with me. She wanted to argue, but I shot her a look that shut it down. She stepped back, guilt written all over her face. But honestly, she'd already shown more courage than anyone else here by stepping up in the first place. I wasn't about to blame her for anything. Shengxin, meanwhile, was having a full system error. Did he just say I ate? What? The content was so explosively disrespectful that her brain needed a few seconds to fully process it. Then the rage hit. She lunged at me without even activating Angel's soul. Pure, blind fury. No technique. No planning. Just hands. My lips curled into a small smile. Same as before. Impulsive. Hot-headed. She hadn't learned a thing. She was faster than last time. I'll give her that. Real improvement. But I'd improved too. And she was still treating me like the old clan. Big mistake. Since you threw the first punch, whatever happens next is self-defense. The Pope can't say a word about it. Somewhere between her palm heading for my face and my hand drawing a sword, time seemed to slow down. Her slap connected, cracked across my cheek pretty good. But at the exact same moment, my blade sank into her abdomen. Everyone saw it clearly. SHE attacked first. I just defended myself. Lightning surged through the blade. The wound turned charred black instantly. The pain hit Xingxin so hard, she couldn't even scream. She collapsed to the ground and started convulsing as my electricity tore through her system. Holy Maiden, her attendant rushed forward in a panic. I pulled the blade out. I'd held back. This would hurt her badly but wouldn't kill her. Calculated. Precise. Relax. She'll live. Just a wound. Consider it a warning. Next time she comes looking for trouble, I won't hold back. We'll go down together if that's what it takes. The killing intent in my eyes was so thick you could practically touch it. I wanted to chop this woman into pieces. But the consequences of actually doing it were too severe. What I'd already done was pushing it as it was. I also knew the Pope's game. He wanted me to keep pressuring Xingxin. So while this was aggressive, it shouldn't be life-threatening for me either. You. Xingxin tried to speak, but coughed up a mouthful of blood. She wanted to get up and fight back, but the abdominal wound was too agonizing. She couldn't even stand. Holy Maiden, please stop talking. We need to get you treated immediately. Her attendants carried her away. I watched them leave with ice in my eyes. I meant what I said earlier. The church having this woman as their future leader was genuinely concerning. She had the most broken starting hand imaginable. S-rank talent, Pope's backing, unlimited resources. All she had to do was follow the path laid out for her, and she'd become one of the strongest beings alive. Instead, she ran around picking fights and making enemies like it was a hobby. This was not how a Pope's successor should behave. Then a thought crossed my mind. What if this was a side effect of her S-rank talent? Saga mentioned that her wing person talent caused mental issues, obsessive fixation. What if Angel's soul had a psychological side effect too? Something that made Xingxin this arrogant and reckless? But I shook that thought off. Not my problem. Her mental health was someone else's department. I didn't continue with today's forging. After stabbing the Holy Maiden in front of 50 witnesses, the church was definitely going to send someone. So I sat down in the guild's main hall and waited. The other blacksmiths saw me sitting there and started quietly clearing out. Nobody wanted to be near me when the hammer dropped. Can't blame them. Kola sat down across from me. Clan, you just made a huge mistake. That was the Holy Maiden. It'll be fine, Kola. The Pope won't do anything serious to me. How can you be so sure about that? I didn't say he wouldn't punish me. I said he won't do anything serious. Kola looked like she was about to explode. Do you even understand what you just did? Right as I was about to give her a reassuring answer, church enforcers walked through the door. Who is Clan? Almost the exact same scene as last time. I stood up like a professional. Right here. I'll come with you. Then I recognized the lead officer and paused. Wait, aren't you the same guy who arrested me last time? The officer, Jacquier, stared at me. My completely unbothered attitude left him genuinely speechless. What was this kid? Last time at least made sense. The Holy Maiden picked the fight, and he fought back. But this time, the officer looked at me like I was an alien. Here I was, not a scratch on me, while the Holy Maiden was being carried away with a hole in her stomach. This kid had a death wish. Tie him up. Relax, I said calmly. I didn't run last time. I won't run this time. I'll walk myself. And I just started walking toward the church. The officers stood there confused for a second, then scrambled to catch up. From a distance, it probably looked like I was the VIP and they were my security detail. The lead officer didn't dare rough me up, though. Last time I walked into the Pope's office in chains and walked out with rewards. This kid clearly had something going on behind the scenes. We arrived at the Pope's palace. Looking up at this magnificent building, I had this weird feeling I'd be visiting a lot more often. But probably no gift bags this time. They marched me inside. Your Holiness, Clan is here. This time was very different from last time. The Pope's face looked like a thundercloud. Even standing at the bottom of the steps, I could feel his fury pressing down on me like a physical weight. Though I did wonder how much of it was acting. You still remember I'm the Pope? Do you have any respect for the church? Tell me what you did to the Holy Maiden. The Holy Maiden came to the Blacksmith Guild to harass me and get revenge for last time. She also threatened someone close to me. I acted in the heat of the moment to protect them. The Pope almost laughed from sheer disbelief. Oh, so you're the victim here. That's not inaccurate. If I hadn't acted first, it'd be me and my people lying on the ground right now. Hurting the Holy Maiden was my only option. My words were polite. My tone was polite. But the content was basically saying, this is entirely her fault, and we both know it. I could feel the Pope getting more annoyed by the second. This brat had figured out the game. He knew the Pope was using him to motivate Xingxin. That's why he had the guts to pull something this extreme. So you think you did nothing wrong? No, Your Holiness. I know I made a serious mistake, but I had no choice. If I backed down this time, it would be endless humiliation from here on out. You know how the Holy Maiden's personality works. The Pope's anger cooled slightly. Now he was certain I'd figured out his scheme. Smart kid. If only Xingxin had half this brain, he wouldn't need to play these games at all. But a Pope could never admit to such a thing. Clan, I had such high hopes for you. But after what you've done, if I don't punish you, how will anyone take me seriously? I understood immediately. He needed to save face. The church's authority couldn't be challenged publicly. What he wanted was simple. I publicly apologize. He gives me a token punishment, and everyone sees the Pope being fair and just. But I had a better idea. Your Holiness, I have a proposal. Oh? Let's hear it. In 2 weeks, I'm competing in the blacksmith tournament. I'll win the Youth Division Championship. The Pope raised an eyebrow, starting to see where I was going. After that, I'll enter the Freshman Combat Tournament in 2 months. I'll win that too. If I demonstrate enough talent to the outside world, people will start seeing me as someone on par with the Holy Maiden. Once we're viewed as equals, today's incident becomes nothing more than a rivalry between two geniuses. The Pope stared at me. Then something flickered across his face. Amusement? Disbelief? This kid had confidence coming out of his ERS. 2 championships? Just like that? He clearly thought I was getting too cocky. Time for a reality check. The Pope's aura exploded. The entire palace shook. A wave of pressure crashed down on me so hard that the guards outside the building dropped to their knees instinctively. I stayed standing. My body was trembling. My bones were creaking, but my legs held. My spine stayed straight. The Pope was surprised. At my level, I should have been forced to my knees instantly. But here I was, still upright. He pushed harder, curious about where my limit was. My skeleton felt like it was going to shatter. Every joint screamed. The pressure was like being crushed by an invisible mountain. I roared. Lightning erupted across my entire body. Lightning body activated at full power, flooding my muscles with energy, pushing my physical stats to their absolute peak. The Pope pushed harder. My magic started draining at insane speed, but my control over the thunder attraction technique was skyrocketing under the pressure. A breakthrough I'd achieved recently was now stabilizing at record speed. My body was being forged by this aura, the same way I forged metal. But the pressure was still growing faster than I could adapt. Blood started seeping from my pores, tiny red droplets covering my skin. My body felt like a balloon about to pop.